committee members also claimed that the attackers moved into a bedroom and opened fire on children who were among those killed. Police spokesperson Clement Manyathela says a manhunt for the suspects is underway.
So quite an unfortunate situation, but we have got full faith and confidence in the team that has been established to get to the bottom of this case.
National Police Commissioner Fani Masemola is making his way to the Saltsfield hostel. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
As calls mount for the tighter security for witnesses and whistleblowers who appear at the Madlanga Commission, it's yet to be seen how the Commission will enhance its security. The Commission is under pressure to beef up security following the murder of former Ekurhuleni Metro Police officer Marius van der Merwe on Friday. Van der Merwe testified last month before the Commission as witness D, implicating suspended EMPD top cop Julius Mkhwanazi in the 2022 murder of a robbery suspect, and that happened in Brakpan at an alleged cover-up. Khomotso reports.
At the weekend, the National Joint Operational and Intelligence Structure of the police said while extensive measures have been put in place to ensure the safety of witnesses and officials since the start of the Madlanga Commission, the need has been identified to heighten these measures. It was also agreed that the Commission's security operational plan would be enhanced over the next few days. But as the conversation around whistleblower safety has been reignited, advocacy group Defend Our Democracy's Naledi Gwadi says they want protections to be legislated.
The shortcomings of the Public Disclosures Act have been ventilated time and time again. Civil society and other civil servants have come forward and shared what they think is going to happen if this legislation is not enacted, and we still see a delay.
Meanwhile, NatJoint says it will give a briefing soon on the safety changes that will be made. Eyewitness News.
And South Africa says it won't be complicit in any scheme to exploit or displace Palestinians after an investigation found they were being flushed out from the Gaza Strip. The Home Affairs Department has revoked its 90-day visa exemption granted to Palestinian travelers who arrived at OR Tambo last month. 2 charter flights were planned as part of a broader ongoing effort to relocate Palestinians to other parts of the world. Minister Leon Schreiber says a Dubai-based broker with offices in South Africa recently requested quotations for more charter flights to commence as soon as possible.
Withdrawing the visa exemption is the most effective way to prevent further flights of this nature, while ensuring that bona fide travellers from Palestine are safely able to visit South Africa without being subjected to abuse.
Gold is trading at $4,209.96 an ounce. The rand is at 16.92 to the dollar, 22.58 to the pound, 19.73 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $63.76 a barrel.
In Sunny Hill, there's been an accident on the N1 North. It happened right near the Baku interchange, causing delays from Winnie Mandela Drive. There was also queuing traffic on the M1 South between Grayston Drive and Collett Drive, as well as on Grayston Drive between Rivonia Road and the M1 exit.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng with scattered showers and thunder showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 26 and 28. The top story in EW in this hour: as police search for gunmen who killed 12 people in Atteridgeville, National Commissioner Fani Masemola has called on officers to fast-track their investigation.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app,
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
6 minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang, happy Monday. Welcome to the Clement Manyathela show. Thank you for joining us this morning on this 8th day of December. It's wonderful to have you with us here on 702. I hope you're well this morning and that you had a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Congratulations to Orlando Pirates Football Club. We have to begin there. Congratulations to all my fellow family and fans of the club, because we did it again. We are the Carling knockout champions after defeating Marumo Gallants 1-0 on Saturday. Did you watch the game? And what did you think? And Pirates fans, aren't we just wrapping up the year on a good note? I mean, we've really had a good year. We really have had a good year. Let me know how you're feeling about this win, and if you watch the game, give me a call or send me a WhatsApp voice note. Congratulations to Lando Norris as well, the 2025 Formula One World Champion. What a gem. What a man. What a drive this season from Lando Norris. I was rooting for him from the first race of the season, and I'm glad that Max didn't take this championship away from him, because Max was this close to taking it. But Max Verstappen won the race in Abu Dhabi yesterday, but not the championship, because Lando Norris was way ahead with points. And I'm just happy. I was so happy yesterday watching the race. I celebrated so much because I do think Lando Norris deserves this win. Did you watch the Grand Prix yesterday? How do you feel about Lando Norris as the world champion, the 2025 Formula One world champion? 011-883-0702 is the number to call. You can send your WhatsApps as well on 072-7021-702. Now, how shocking were the news of Witness D's murder? Marius van der Merwe, he testified at the Madlanga Commission, as you'll remember. He gave that explosive testimony detailing how the EMPD Brigadier Julius Mkhwanazi, and there were other people there who had ordered him to dispose of the body of a suspect who was allegedly killed by EMPD and SAPS members. And he was told to go and dump that body. In fact, he has said that they gave him two options. Either you go, just put the body over in a river, or you go and dump it in a mine shaft. And he indicated that he ultimately dumped the body in a dam out of fear of his life. And I just think it's crazy that this is where we're sitting now. I mean, we still don't know for sure what the motive of this killing is. It could be because of his work in illegal mining operations. It could be because of the testimony at the Madlanga Commission, because the next step was actually going to be him testifying in court. Do you remember this?
Commissioners, at that stage, I did not know who he was referring to. And as continued in my statement, I walked to the main gate after this was said, and after I noticed the members that I've mentioned walk away to go and get a firearm to plant.
Yes.
I walked to the main gate of the property and saw that my vehicle, which is a Ford Ranger, black in color, marked, was parked in by two marked EMPD vehicles, which prevented me from leaving at that point. It made me question the whole scenario and what was currently taking place. A short while after this, Chief Soup Julius Mkhwanazi, JD Mkhwanazi, arrived at the scene, and we were informed that this is the chief in a dark tracksuit of some sort.
At this time, apologies, witness, at this time, did you know who Chief Superintendent Julius Mkhwanazi was?
It was my first time seeing him that evening, and then it was obviously when Yaku indicated to us that this is Mkhwanazi, Chief Soup Mkhwanazi.
Did you know what unit or institution he's aligned to?
From the system, I understood that he was EMPD or Metro Police.
EMPD, you say?
Yeah, or Metro Police, from the rank structure.
Thank you. You may continue.
Thank you, Commissioners. So, Jaco Hanekom and Deandre addressed him as chief, and the Metro members, including Jaco, Kershaw, Etienne was with me at that stage. So the Metro members, they all had a meeting with the soup away from myself and Etienne. Shortly afterwards, they returned to where we were. JD Mkwanazi said that we needed to throw the suspect's body into a mine shaft or dump it into a dam. As he said this, he looked at me. Deandre then in turn informed me that I must take the body and dump it. They will show me where and that I should relax. Since my vehicle is marked, Deandre said it won't attract any attention. I was directed by Deandre at this stage where to park my bakkie next to the front door. That is as you're coming from the main gate. I was escorted to my vehicle by 2 EMPD members and told where to park it. Jaco Hanekom essentially broke the gate to allow my vehicle entry into the property. I parked my vehicle at the designated spot and walked towards the main gate where I remained until they were finished.
Before you continue, witness dear, apologies, before you continue, you say that when Chief Superintendent Mkwanazi said that the body should be thrown into a mine shaft or dumped into a dam,
yes.
You make the point of stating that when he said that, he looked at you. What did you interpret that to mean?
Commissioners, it was quite clear at this stage that it was expected from me to dispose of the deceased body.
So that's what Witness D told the Madlanga Commission. That's what he told. Julius Mkwanazi was asked about this before he wrapped up his testimony last week, and he said, I don't know this guy. But he confirms that he was there at an operation. And in fact, he mentioned this Jaco guy and said, Jaco is the one who called me at 2 a.m. or whatever, and I had to drive to this operation. So he's confirmed he was there, but he said he doesn't know this guy. And if you speak to the people around this guy who have worked with him, they'll tell you that this is something that weighed heavily on his heart. That's why he decided to go and speak at the Madlanga Commission, because he just wanted to speak out, because he just felt so guilty that there's someone who was killed and they used him to go dump the body in a dam. The next step, as I said, was going to be for him to testify. Again, we still don't know for sure what the motive of this killing is. It could be because of his work in illegal mining. It could be because of this testimony at the commission, because next up, he was going to have to go to court. And there are many people who were at that operation where this suspect died who didn't want to catch some strays. But whatever the motive may be, this is a moment of reckoning for us. This is a moment that requires all of us not only to call for accountability, but to demand it and help the police if you have any information. I mean, this happened in full view of his wife and kids. This murder of Marius. There are people, whether it's the Zamazamas or it's the people he testified about at the Madlanga Commission, there are people who instructed him to dump that body. There are people who stood to benefit from his assassination. And I really, really hope the police will crack this case. And I really hope that as a community, we can help them in doing that. You cannot allow for our country to go down this road where people will be scared to do their job or to blow the whistle on illegal acts because they may be taken out. If you can investigate crime within the SAPS without someone dying at the hands of that investigation or another criminal force, then we have a problem. We're going to turn into a lawless state. This is a brutal attack on justice and the rule of law, and we should not allow it. And I wonder, because every time I hear of such people who die, I think of other people who are currently doing work that puts them at risk. And if you are that person, how do you feel when you hear such stories? If you're a kind of person who works or whose work puts you at a risk, when people get killed like that for blowing the whistle or for just simply doing their job, how does that make you feel? 011-883-0702. is the number to dial. You can send your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. At 10 o'clock, we're going to stay on the story and understand more what the life of Marius was all about and what concerns he raised before he was killed. And then 10:30, we continue with our series looking at South African wars. Today, we're going to be focusing on the Cape Frontier Wars, also known as the Xhosa Wars. We'll tell you more about those. And then at 11 o'clock, we're going to wrap up the show with our Family Matters feature. Today, we're discussing family budgeting for the holiday season. Do you budget for the festive season, or do you just wing it? Or do you need some assistance with managing your finances during the festive season? All of that coming up at 11 o'clock on our Family Matters feature. That's the show coming up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
I am over the moon. I am over the moon. The bold and the beautiful, ezimnyama ngenkani, ezigamagebhula ezagebhula umuzi wendoda zawubhekisa phezulu. The bold and the beautiful. Oh, happy people. Yo, Clement, I'm over the moon. Kuthiwa ngesizulu isinamuva liyabukwa. Kushiwa amabhakabhaka. Kushiwa ipirate, kuthiwa isinamuva liyabukwa. Yo, Nkosi yami, anginawo amaningi. I'm very, very, very happy. Have a good day, Clement. Bye.
Good morning, Clement. Let me start by saying congratulations to Orlando Pirates. Performance-wise, to be honest, Clement, it was below par. It wasn't that Pirates that we know. I mean, I think the problem was when the coach started with a player that didn't even play a single game for a long time, who is Makhaula, and that disjointed Orlando Pirates, and that made them not to even try to pick up their form, because honestly, we were like, it's just that they can't even realize. This is why we managed to beat Marumo Gallants. But anyway, we are the champions, and again, congratulations to the coach and the players. Have a wonderful Christmas, and a happy New Year.
Clemmy, goeiemôre man. Flores here from the beautiful Western Cape. Clemmy, I'm going to lay a charge against you at the Human Rights Commission for playing with my emotions. Why do you always want to rub in Orlando Pirates' win? Huh? You don't say anything about Sundowns ladies who won. You don't say anything about the way Max Verstappen fought until the very last. The only thing you care about is Orlando Pirates winning a case of beer. Have a good day, bye-bye.
Flores, it's more than the case of beer. Look, guys. I mean, I spoke about Max last week. Like he really did well, and even yesterday, he fought until the end. And I was just holding my breath the entire time, even in the last lap, because we needed Lando to stay in that position, and we didn't need a car to start doing other things, because that would have completely changed the dynamics of the game, of the race. But yeah, Max has just been so brilliant. I agree with you. But I just think that Lando Norris has also fought very hard. Even Oscar Piastri. Like, the McLaren boys have really worked hard. I mean, they've been sabotaged here and there by their team, their strategy, but they've really worked really hard. So I'm happy for him. I really am. But also, it just works to have different variables and dynamics in Formula One. Let's see next year what happens in Abu Dhabi. I hope we can have a win from Lewis Hamilton next year so that he can go retire and focus on all these things he's focusing on instead of focusing on the game 100%. That's my hope. Let's go to some more of your WhatsApp voice notes on 0727021702 about what's been happening with Witness D and how concerning this really is. And I think whether you do work that puts you at risk or not, as someone who lives in this country where there's constitutional democracy, where there's the equality before the law, you need to be worried about these incidents. It's becoming so easy to just take people out. It's becoming so easy to hire people to murder people because they have spoken the truth, because they're doing their job, because they're exposing the rot. You and I have got to be concerned because we don't want to live in a lawless country. We don't want to live in a country where people are going to be scared to do the work of protecting us, of investigating crime and corruption, because they're scared they're going to die.
Good morning, Clement. Welcome back, my good sir. Hi, this is sad, man. When you're a witness, when you're a whistleblower, your life is at risk. Yo, it's so sad. So, but I guess it is what it is. When you're a whistleblower, I'm sure they know. You can't just talk not knowing your life is at risk. So, if you are not brave enough, don't say anything. But if you understand the consequences, man, so sad. So sad. But yeah, I guess it's life. It's part of life. We are all going to die at the end of the day. Yo, I don't know what to say, man. Tabang ubrini chiwele kama naga box back. Maresu Mandela Pakakwa section 2. Mabona makhula matala suka mabuzini. Takwa.
Hi, Clement. The one thing I don't get about the witnesses at Matlanga Commission is that why did they not play out the voices? Why were not they put at a safe place? I'm confused. Like, this is so sad. And are we now supposed to be scared that they're not gonna confess or maybe like come out with the truth anymore? Like, what's happening, guys? This is a lot, eh? Yeah.
Trust me, yeah, it is. But they were satisfied. I mean, sometimes you ask the witnesses because there's evidence that we won't get to hear. There's evidence that's probably been presented at the Madlanga Commission that you and I don't even know about because they couldn't take the risk of even getting those people, where they testify in camera and we just hear their voices. So there are instances where you can't run that risk. Who knows? Maybe we'll find out what testimony in the recommendations and at the end of this commission they've had that they couldn't risk also getting their voices out there. And as you've heard from the minister, from the Madlanga Commission as well, they did apparently present and give him an option of security. But he said, I own a security company anyway. So he declined security from the Madlanga Commission. And the thing is also in these things are so muddied. It's like when Shadrach Sibiya, the Deputy National Police Commissioner, when he was given protection, he had concerns that the people who are protecting him are probably people spying on him. So this entire situation is so messy that even when you offer protection, the people being protected themselves are going to think, hey, but these people who are protecting me, what if they start sending information out about my whereabouts? And actually, it's the protectors themselves who put me at risk. It's so muddy. It's so dangerous. But I do think that I hope as a society, I hope listening to us now, if you've got any information that could help the police, I hope you can send that over to the police. Because none of us want to live in a country where you take people out because they have testified or they're about to testify. Remember in court, in Randburg, they would kill someone outside court. There was a woman who was killed as she was about to get into court to testify against some people. That's how brazen the criminals are. They'll come and do it just outside court. I mean, they do this in front of his kids and his wife over the weekend when they killed Marius. That's how brazen it is. And maybe it doesn't feel close. You don't feel close to the situation because it's happened to someone you don't even know. But know that it's possible that it can happen to you as well. Which is why what happened has got to concern really all of us. George, you calling us from Midday. You want to talk about Orlando Pirates. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Clement. And good morning. Yeah, good morning to the 702 listeners. Clement, I just want to make a comment, man, regarding the security and then the complaining around big games like Orlando Pirates. Clement, I must indicate that, I left Joburg with my 2 children and my friend and my nephew, and we arrived in Polokwane on time, and there were a lot of traffic. I saw, taxis from Gugule to Port St. John's, and then, I can name them. I mean, a Mamelodi, I don't know. I mean, I saw more than 100 taxis with the flags, a Greater Mamelodi supporter. And I must indicate that, we arrived there in Polokwane, 2:30, and I decided that we must have lunch before the game, of which we did. But when we get to the stadium, we got to the stadium 1 hour, 20 minutes before the game. But, there was one gate that was used, and then, the police closed the gate, and people started getting irritated, and they started shouting, push, push, push. You know what? I mean, Clement, I was there in 2001 at Ellis Park. I'm still having that ticket of Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs. During that game, I arrived there, 2 hours before the start of the game. And you know what? With what I experienced at Ellis Park, it nearly happened, because I had to dive into, a crowd of more than, 200 people. My daughter was right at the bottom to remove her, there were SAPS as well, with this public order policeman who took the video clip, of what happened. And, that excitement, it nearly turned into chaos, because when they started shouting, push, push, people were, you can imagine, Clement, traveling from Gugule to coming to Polokwane, and ultimately, you have got tickets there, and you bought the ticket, and you know what? You are unable to get into the stadium. You can imagine the amount of time that we have invested, number one. Number two, the amount of money that we have invested, and suddenly you are not able to get into the stadium. We bought the ticket online, and I'm telling you that we managed to get into the stadium after they pushed, the police and the barricades there. Everyone moved in, and our tickets were not scanned. But you know what? The first person that I had to fight for, it was my daughter.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, being put in that situation, George, where, as you say, security is not so adequately prepared, that's very dangerous. And we've been in scenarios where people have died. So, I've spoken to stadium management, the CEO before, about the need to actually be ready when they are hosting such big games. And I think it's a conversation we need to continuously have. On the WhatsApp line, Clyde says, "Hey, Clement, people must understand that masking the testimony won't help, because the criminals will still know who exactly the witness is, as they were there when the crime took place, and they all know the players and who did that." That's Clyde from Alberton. No, Clyde, that's true. But remember, Witness D had already told IPID. And IPID, from his testimony, seemingly didn't do anything about it. Because apparently, from those close to Witness D, he really was troubled by this situation. And he felt the need to expose that. And he exposed it to IPID. He told apparently one of his partners, one of the people that he spoke to, and when the opportunity presented itself for him to get it off his chest at the Madlanga Commission, that's exactly what he did. So he actually knew that there are people who are not going to be happy with him getting this off his chest. So, but you still want to somehow minimize the level of risk on that person. Because anybody who was at that operation and who was there when this chap was told, go and dump the body in a dam, of course they're going to know who the person is. But this guy just wanted to tell the truth. And now this is what happens when you tell the truth. We can't let that to be the story of this country. And I know there are many people, and many of you who are doing dangerous work out there. And I can only imagine how you feel when you hear of instances like this and you're on your way to the office, or you're in the office now, you're investigating a very dangerous case, or a case that involves dangerous criminals, or you're writing an audit report that's going to reveal irregularities that may make other people unhappy. We need to do better. And I think part of doing better as a society is helping the police. It's us rallying together to make sure that the people who did this are held accountable. It's 9:31. By the way, someone else earlier on said Happy Christmas and Happy New Year, Clement. I mean, are we already doing that? I was shocked. Are we already saying like Happy Christmas and Happy New Year on the 8th of December? I wasn't aware. When do we start doing that? I think we can do that on the day of Christmas. I think that's what I would suggest. On the 8th of December? Already we're doing Christmas greetings? Hectic. Sfiso. Merry
Thanks,
Christmas.
Clements. Merry Christmas. As police search for gunmen who killed 12 people in Atteridgeville, National Commissioner Fani Masimula has called on officers to fast-track their investigation. Masimula is this morning expected to visit the Shebeen at the Saulsville hostel where Saturday's mass shooting happened. 3 children between the ages of 3 and 16 are among the people killed, while other victims have been hospitalized in critical condition. NPA head Shamila Batoy will face tough questions at the inquiry into Johannesburg's top prosecutor Andrew Chauke this morning. Chauke's lawyers are expected to begin cross-examining Batoy, who is the NPA main witness. The prosecution's boss laid a complaint against Chauke with the president, questioning his fitness to hold office. And the Phala Phala burglary trial against 3 people accused of stealing more than $500,000 from President Cyril Ramaphosa's farm will resume this morning. Emanuela David and siblings Floriana and Dilinasha Joseph will appear in the Mudamule Regional Court in Limpopo. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Traveling on the N1 North, we still have got that accident heading towards Signing Hill. It's on the N1 North right near the Baku interchange, causing delays from Winnie Mandela Drive. There's also queuing traffic on the N3 South between Marlborough Drive and Vincent Shabalala Road. That's due to an accident as well. While traveling in the city of Tshwane, some delays on the N1 North between the Flying Saucer interchange and Rigel Avenue. And then heading towards Bedford View, do expect heavy traffic volumes on the N12 as well as the R24 West between Edenville Road and the Kidulis interchange. And speaking of the N12 West, we've got an accident reported. It's right near Edenville Road, causing some delays coming out of Craft Road. And there's still moving traffic as well on the Magwenya North between Boyson's Road and the Crown interchange. Please be on the lookout on the roads. More updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
Do you agree with the president that this is an important gathering of the membership of the ANC?
I think that the ANC finds itself at a crossroads at this point in time, and the NGC actually signals the ANC has entered a very crucial phase in its organization.
Hlumelo Xaba, political analyst. The deputy president, Paul Mashatile, saying that the gathering of the ANC will not discuss leadership changes, saying that President Cyril Ramaphosa will remain in office until the end of his term, with leadership matters reserved for the 2027 National Conference.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
This month, Freedom Park Heritage Site in Pretoria proudly launches its Gallery of Leaders. This new exhibition celebrates the lives of Africa's most iconic figures, from Nelson Mandela and Oliver Tambo to Charlotte Maxeke, Steve Biko, and many more. Visitors can explore the stories of courage, sacrifice, and vision that shaped our nation and the continent. The gallery honors their fight for freedom, justice, and equality, offering inspiration for generations to come. Come and experience the Gallery of Leaders, a journey through history, resilience, and hope. For more information, visit www.freedompark.co.za.
Brush, stroke, paint, color, protect, and admire. From roof paint to exterior textures and interior silk, Warrior Paints has it all. The product range and stylish colors are amazing. And what's more, Warrior Paints has crush prices for incredible savings. Enjoy that good old-fashioned personal service you deserve. For price, quality, variety, and service, Warrior Paints is streets ahead. Warrior Paints. Affordable, lasting luxury.
When it comes to protecting your workforce, trust the workwear brand that has been protecting workers for over 150 years, Sweetall. Sweetall has overalls and uniform solutions for every industry, so your team is safe, comfortable, and ready to tackle any challenge. Visit our new Boksburg showroom, shop A1 Atlas Road, Westwood, Boksburg, or go to sweetall.com today. Sweetall, we never let you down. Superior protective workwear since 1871.
LLB graduates can fast-track their legal career with the Law Society of South Africa's PVT School for Legal Practice. LPC accredited, this 4-month practice-ready course, which is taught by practicing lawyers, can reduce your PVT contract by 12 months for admission. Study by day, after hours, or via distance at campuses nationwide. The first 2026 intake runs from January to April. Applications close 31 October 2025. Apply now at lssalead.org.za. That's lssalead.org.za.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
A very wet November, if I may say. I presume that's one of the reasons farmers are so confident.
Stephen, rain brings grain. Grain farmers, oilseed farmers, fruit, as well as the vegetable ones, they've had a good season. And I'm talking now about the 2024-25 production season. But even now, looking ahead, it looks like things will be good for us.
Owandile Seklobo, the chief economist at the Agricultural Business Chamber.
The Money Show
On 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show, Stephen Curtis, is brought to you by ABSA CIB. Invested in your story because your story matters. ABSA is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
It's 22 minutes now before 10 o'clock. Let's continue with your calls on 011-883-0702. We're taking your WhatsApp voice notes on 072-702-1702. On the WhatsApp line, some messages coming through. Kai says, good morning, Clement. Yes, well done to London Norris for the championship. I was impressed by how Max took the loss and how he reacted towards Norris and his team. He has matured, and I bet next season will be entertaining. As the 2020 as much as the 2025 season. Yeah, let's hope so. We really hope so. And then another one says, hi Clement, on the WhatsApp line. Hi Clement, this horrific story it's just so sad. The poor man told the police what had happened. So which police must be the next which police must the next person tell? I thought IPID would investigate, but nothing happened. Who are the police in this custody? How does one identify a true police, right? And that is what is going to be quite stressful for other people. Do I even trust the police? There are many people who will tell you when they're driving on the road and they get stopped by the police and it's dark. Some will tell you they will drive until at least a petrol station of sorts, because there is a trust deficit that exists. And there is a reason why that trust deficit exists. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done for the police's trust to be restored among the citizens. There really is a lot. And this doesn't mean that every single police officer out there is corrupt. Of course not. The same way it doesn't mean that every auditor out there looks the other way, or any profession has good and bad people. Our profession too. Your profession too. It does. There are people that will do bad. There are people that will just be passionate about their work and they do their job. But the tough thing is, how do you know who's who in the game? Especially in a case of police officers who've got the authority to just stop you in the middle of nowhere at night. Could you be in danger in that moment? Or could it be that they're doing a legitimate police operation? It's very difficult to tell these days. You think twice before you allow yourself to be stopped by police. How do you even deal with something like that? Let me get some of maybe your experiences. When you get stopped at night, how do you deal with that? And women, even more stressful because they're not only worried about the possibility of these guys not being police officers, they're worried about the possibility of them being violated. This could be people who just violate you. They could do terrible things to you. But also, this could be people who are not really police officers who just want to rob you. How do you navigate that? I know I've got female friends in my life who don't take Ubers alone at night. It's just how dangerous it is. It's become like that now. So I think we need to be cautious even in our day-to-day. And I want to know how cautious you've become since you've been hearing such stories. So 2 questions. How cautious are you with your job? If you do work that puts you at risk, but also how cautious are you? Because someone is raising the issue of police and not trusting the police. When you get stopped at night, especially at night, do you stop? Or are you one of those that drive to a nearby petrol station? Or you drive by somewhere where there's light? Or are you easily trusting of the police? And how do you make sure that they are indeed legitimate police? Do you ask to see their badges? How do you make sure? 011-883-0702, WhatsApp's on 0727021702. Entle says on the WhatsApp line, my question is, the witness gets protection until when? For the rest of their lives? I don't think so. I don't think it's for the rest of their lives. So first of all, there's got to be a security assessment that is made. I don't think you just give anybody like protection, right? In fact, the responsible thing to do is you want to know what kind of protection to give them. So at the very least, you've got to do an assessment because that advises you on what level of protection is required. And then you make the protection available. And that assessment is something that's got to be done on a regular basis. At some point, you've got to do another assessment so you can figure out if the person is still safe. And a decision can be taken further after that. So that's my response to that question, Entle. Let's go to your WhatsApps.
Witness protection. Yes, if we cannot trust our own police to look after ourselves, never mind in the witness program, how do you trust the people that's supposed to protect you do not also know the perpetrators? We do not know who knows who. So who must you trust? That's the question. Who must you trust at the end of the day? Ben Alberton.
Morning, Temza. Temza, as our condolences to the family of the guy. Condolences to the family of the guy. I personally think Ugutena, he who witnessed D was killed by those illegal Zamazamas because he was about to expose the real kingpins from the government. So personally, I think it's people within the high ranks of government officials.
Yeah, look, you could never know. We don't know, but at the end of the day, we must equally be worried. Whether it's those people that he has gone after, the Zamazamas, the operations that they've done as a security company, whether it's the people who were scared, his assassination has benefited some people, and that is worrying. There's a compelling case that people were not happy with what he said at the Madlanga Commission. There's a compelling case that people were not happy that he was going to go to court. Because once it's in court, that's more danger. Madlanga, yeah, you can evade accountability because, I mean, all they do is recommend to the president and even other institutions what can be done. But a court of law is a different ball game. Once the matter gets there and he testifies, maybe even turns, I don't know, state witness because maybe they also realize what he's done in dumping that body was wrong. I don't know what agreement he gets into, but he could end up talking in a court of law. And there are people who don't want that because their lives are going to be in danger. But equally so, it could be that the people who are in illegal mining were not happy with the work that he's been doing. But he's not the only security company as well that operates in that sector. But whichever way and whatever the motive may be, this is concerning on all fronts. 13 minutes before 10 o'clock.
There's a new way to experience all your favorites. Pulse Pulse Africa, the 24/7 fast channel, now live on primemediaplus.com and the Prime Media Plus app, bringing you the best of Prime Media around the clock. Watch the biggest moments from 7:02. It's non-stop entertainment and authentic African storytelling, all from Africa's leading media network. Pulse Africa, only on the primemediaplus.com and Prime Media Plus app.
End the year on a high with instant payment. How you ask? Well, sell it to WeBuyCars. Simply complete the form on webuycars.co.za and there you have it, a great offer within minutes. Ready to take it further? Sealing the deal with your dream ride? Explore over 12,000 vehicles on webuycars.co.za. Easy, right? With WeBuyCars, it always is.
You can become a victim of a legal problem, wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
At Checkers, we do more so you get extra this Christmas. With festive savings like Danone Ultramel Vanilla Flavored Custard, 1 kg for $24.99. And Clover Butro Full Cream Modified Butter Spread, 500 grams for $69.99. Plus, stand a chance to win your share of 7 million rand in prizes. Simply buy any 3 qualifying products and swipe your extra savings card to enter. Valid until Sunday at Checkers, Checkers Hyper or shop on 6060. T&Cs apply.
702 was in conversation with Momentum on The Money Show with Stephen Grootes, discussing the power of focus and the science of success.
Thank you so much for having me this evening. To answer that question, I think Paul and I had a huge conversation around this a couple of weeks ago, and it's definitely growing up with slightly less or less than. Having not ever had backup savings because my grandmom was the one who raised me, and she was also the one who raised everyone and looked after everyone in our family. There was never that little pocket that we could go and tap into, and that definitely shaped the way I look at money today. Like, I need to have savings. I need to have that little pocket that I can tap into should things go wrong, and also if I do need to celebrate myself at any point.
Visit momentum.co.za for more info. Momentum, your journey to success. Momentum is an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
On 702.
It's going up to 10 minutes before 10 o'clock.
My Clement and Team Maperero report. I believe that the lack of political will is based on what if it's safer for the witnesses and the guys who are whistleblowers. It's because what if they're afraid of themselves being implicated and making it safer for those guys to come out, then they will too be implicated. So I think more or less that's the biggest thing that is making this safety, or making sure that these guys are safe, these guys are well protected, is because they're afraid of if they come out with something, they wouldn't be able to touch them.
Hi, Clement. Thank you for your show. You raise such heartfelt topics, and you really just have your pulse on everything, your finger on every pulse, Such a sad thing to happen. And I try and stay very, very positive about our beautiful country. But when things like this happen, I think to myself, oh my gosh, what world are we living in? That you can be gunned down right in front of your house, and it's just not this case, it's all the other cases that come before this. And I think it's got a lot of to do with lack of respect. There's no respect left in this country for the police force. There's no respect left for teachers. There's no respect left for hospitals and doctors and nurses. And I think we need to go back down to that and say, if people have done anything, they need to fess up and they need to take the flack that comes with it. If you do the crime, you should be man enough to do the time. I'm just devastated and heartbroken, as I say, not just for this person, but for all the others that try and do the right thing, that just get taken out. It's devastating.
All right, absolutely. It's sad. It's sad to know that we're living in a country like that. And I mean, I don't really think things have gone to that level where we can start comparing ourselves to countries like Mexico. But it's so sad that it almost seems like we're heading there. I mean, Mafolo is an auditor who worked for the city of Ekurhuleni. He was killed a couple of months ago. Like, they were following him, killed him. Before that, in Ekurhuleni, there was another auditor. I mean, there are so many names we can go on and on. Babita Deokaran. And look at how these people get killed. Like, it's execution style. They kill them on their driveways, next to their kids. Like, it's such... And you can tell that this is more than just getting you out. It's supposed to send a message to other people as well. It's supposed to sort of intimidate you. You know, the comfort, the little bit of comfort I get is there are people who are actually willing. There are people who will say, I'm willing to tell the truth and to really speak about what's happened, what's troubling me. And if that means that my life will end because of that, the people who take those decisions, they'll live with the consequences. They'll live with the consequences. But I know that I want to be free and I want to tell the truth, or I want to expose this rot. And I think that's what we have to celebrate about these people who often find themselves as victims. But while we do that, we need to ask serious questions and demand accountability. Something has got to give. This cannot be our country. We cannot have such an attack on justice and the rule of law, and we continue as if nothing happened. Listen to what the Minister of Justice, Mamulo Kukubai, said. This is a couple of months ago. In fact, I had asked her about the issue of whistleblowers. The issue of protection, because one of the things that was concerning, I mean, it was certainly a concern to me even before the Madlanga Commission started, was I was thinking about the witnesses. Like, how are they going to be protected? And is the state going to make sure that there is proper protection on witnesses? And I remember that's a question that the News 24 legal journalist Karen Mon was also consistently asking about witness protection, because these things can easily get out of hand. Listen to how the Minister of Justice addressed the matter of witness protection at the start of the Madlanga Commission.
There's another crucial issue here, Minister, that I'd like to get clarity on. How are you going to ensure the protection of whistleblowers who may want to provide information to this inquiry as the Department of Justice?
We have proposals that we've got, including the guideline on how to protect whistleblowers. This taking from the Commission of State Capture, the Zondo Commission. Unfortunately, we were meant to meet with the commissioners on Monday, which they have requested cancellation or postponement. I am meeting them on Thursday, and once those will be done, we'll finalize and put them in place. We will not share more details about this Clement in the public, because protection of whistleblower has to be protected as well. Because the minute you share details, then you're compromising even the process itself. But I can assure South Africans that work is being done to ensure full protection of the whistleblower, but also even the commission. We have taken a decision to protect the commissioners and the lead investigator. We are doing assessment for the other team members to see their risk. Currently, we're sitting at medium risk for the Madlanga Commission in terms of venue and the personnel. We're sitting at low risk for the TRC Commission, Kambebe Commission.
Yeah, so that was the Minister of Justice when we were asking questions about the issue of security. Jeremy Michaels had also explained, who speaks on behalf of the Madlanga Commission, how they were going to approach the issue of ensuring that there's adequate protection for the witnesses.
On the question of witness protection, the terms of reference are quite unique in that it requires the Commission to provide, and so to that extent, we have taken lessons from the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, the Zondo Commission as it is commonly known, So we've taken those lessons, but given the unique nature of this commission, which has within its sights, within the terms of reference, some of the very state entities which are charged with responsibility for witness protection. So we are innovating, and we are not going to discuss those details in public precisely because it deals with witness protection, and their safety is sacrosanct. So unfortunately, we are not able to get into that detail, but we hope that that gives you, members of the media, and the public a sense of our approach to dealing with this very sensitive matter, security-related matter.
Now, the net joints and the Madlanga Commission released a joint statement where they explained that net joints co-chairs, which is inclusive of the SAPS, the SANDF, and the State Security Agency, have actually met over the weekend to have a discussion about what happened to Marius van der Merwe and what action is actually going to be taken. And it was at that meeting that an agreement was reached that they will enhance the Commission's security operational plan over the next couple of days. So there are extensive measures that they told us in a statement that they've put in place to secure witnesses and officials since the start of the Commission. And the meeting has identified a need to heighten these measures by roping in net joints and all the other relevant role players. So as these investigations continue into the matter of Van der Merwe, members of the public, we are being urged to stop speculating, and they are promising that they'll get to the bottom of this. And I'm saying that we need to see how we can help them. If you have any kind of information, you've got to try and assist the police. Otherwise, we're gonna really get into a space in this country where it's just lawlessness all around. Let's wrap up with this WhatsApp voice note.
Good morning. It seems that no expense is spared when it comes to protection for our senior politicians or even more junior politicians. It's a pity the same approach is not taken for whistleblowers and witnesses at these commissions. Thanks, Justin.
Yeah, Justin. True. So much money spent there. We need to do better. Tsepi says, Clement, the death of Witness D is really sad and disturbing. What is more of a concern is President Cyril Ramaphosa's silence on this. I would have expected him to publicly condemn the killing of Witness D. He did. He spoke over the weekend. I think they were preparing for the NGC or they were doing a walkabout somewhere. In fact, the presidency also released a statement. So not only did the president speak when he was doing a walkabout as an ANC president, but as president of the state, he released a statement that came out, it must have been either yesterday morning or so, if I'm not mistaken. Another one says, hey, Clement, people must understand that masking the testimony won't help because the criminals will still know who exactly the witness is. They were there when the crime took place and they know all the players and who did what. Another one says, Clement, after that horrific story, the poor men told the police and nothing really happened. And then, nothing happened. And maybe part of the investigations will be to figure out what IP did really, or what they were planning to do after this man told them about this body that was dumped and the involvement of the EMPD and SAPS officials. It's 10 o'clock, time for the news, and this Eyewitness News is brought to you by Vouch. Hassle-free insurance is possible with your Vouch advisor. Vouch SA is an authorized financial services provider. T's and C's apply.
To the comprehensive.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. A police officer has killed his colleague and turned the gun on himself in Limpopo. The shooting happened at the Nkoankua police station near Tsanin this morning. The male officer opened fire on his female colleague during an argument. There's a call for greater collaboration from society to help bring down incidents of suicide amid concerns of higher rates in Africa. The Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities says suicide in the is the second largest leading cause of death among people aged between 15 and 29. Jabulile Mbata reports.
The Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities says 1 in 5 learners have attempted suicide at least once as they grapple with depression, trauma, bullying and socio-economic hardships. Department spokesperson Cassius Silala.
The department further urges the public to recognize the signs of distress among young people, including withdrawal, hopelessness, change in behavior, substance abuse, and talk of self-harm. Early intervention is critical and can save lives. A reminder to all young people that help is available and they can reach out.
He adds that community members also play a vital role in intervention efforts. Jabulile Mbata, Eyewitness News.
As police search for gunmen who killed 12 people in Atteridgeville, National Commissioner Fani Masemola has called on officers to fast-track their investigation. Masemola is this morning expected to visit the shebeen at the Salisville hostel where Saturday's mass shooting happened. 3 children between the ages of 3 and 16 are among the people killed, while other victims have been hospitalized in critical condition. Alpha Ramushwana reports.
Videos circulated by community members shortly after the attack show multiple bodies lying on top of one another inside the shebeen with blood pooling across the floor. It's understood the gunmen entered the establishment at around 4 o'clock in the morning and began shooting randomly at patrons. Community members also claim that the attackers moved into a bedroom and opened fire on children who were among those killed. Police spokesperson Athlenda Mate says a manhunt for the suspects is underway.
So quite an unfortunate situation, but we have got full faith and confidence in the team that has been established to get to the bottom of this case.
National Police Commissioner Fani Masemola is making his way to the Salisville hostel. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
NPA head Shamila Batoyi is facing tough questions at the inquiry into Johannesburg top prosecutor Andrew Chauke this morning. Chauke's lawyers have begun cross-examining Batoyi, who's the NPA's main witness. The prosecution boss laid a complaint against Chauke, with President Cyril Ramaphosa questioning his fitness to hold office. The inquiry is centered around Chauke's role in the prosecution of KZN former Hawks head Johan Boyson and his decision not to charge former intelligence head Richard Mdluli for murder. Khumoza Modisa reports.
Last week, a tense exchange erupted between NPA head advocate Shamila Batoyi and the panel presiding over the inquiry into advocate Andrew Chauke over whether she would be cross-examined. While it seemed Batoyi had the impression that she'd not be cross-examined after she expressed her discomfort with the panel in a private conversation, the chair, retired Justice Besin Kabinde, insisted that no promise was made to Batoyi that she'd be shielded from cross-examination. The inquiry has also heard that the NPA would like to amend the terms of reference and will be making a formal application. This, as the panelists have repeatedly asked Batoyi to connect her allegations with the inquiry's terms of reference. This morning, Chauke's lawyer, advocate Tembeka Ngugaitobi, will begin with his cross-examination of Batoyi. Khumoza Modise, Eyewitness News.
And the Phala Phala burglary trial against 3 people accused of stealing more than $500,000 from President Cyril Ramaphosa's farm in 2020 has resumed this morning. Emanuela David and siblings Floriana and Dilinasha Joseph will appear in the Modimolle Regional Court in Limpopo. They are accused of housebreaking, theft and money laundering. Oren Singh reports.
The Phala Phala burglary trial will be heard over the course of the next 3 days in Modimolle, Limpopo. Judgment is expected to be handed down for the trial within a trial this morning. This relates to a statement that was provisionally withdrawn by a key witness who alleges that he was forced to sign a pre-prepared statement drawn up by police. Following this morning's judgment, other witnesses are expected to take the stand in the main trial against Emanuela David and siblings Floriana and Indilinasho Joseph. Floriana, who worked as a domestic worker at President Cyril Ramaphosa's game farm, and her brother Indilinasho remain out on bail, while David, the alleged mastermind, has been in custody since his November 2023 arrest. Arun Singh, Eyewitness News.
Gold is trading at $4,209.96 an ounce. The rand is at 16.92 to the dollar, 22.58 to the pound, 19.73 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $63.76 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got an accident reported on the N3 South right near Marlborough Drive. It is causing some delays. Please be on the lookout there. While travelling on the M1 South, we've got delays between Marlborough Drive and Collard Drive. This is due to roadworks that are taking place right near the Bramley area, so please approach with care.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng with scattered showers and thunder showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 26 and 28 degrees. The top story in EW in this hour, a police officer has killed his colleague before turning the gun on himself in Limpopo.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
This is the voice of reason speaking.
But I could sound like this.
Or I could sound like this. Whatever I sound like, I'm saying, listen, Uskabaiza, this insurance thing.
One wrong move and it's not vibes.
That's why you need Vouch.
Someone who gets you and insurance. No spam, no pressure, just honest advice and cover that fits your life.
Because when life happens, you don't have to be the expert.
You just need to know who to turn to. Vouch. Someone on the inside, on your side. Vouch SA is an authorized financial services provider. T's and C's apply.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
8 minutes after 10 o'clock, Dumelang, welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. And thank you so much for your contribution on the 702 open line through your calls, your WhatsApps, and your tweets. Remember, at 10:30, we're going to have a conversation about the so-called Xhosa Wars, also known as the Cape Frontier Wars. This is part of a series we started a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, it's been probably over a month now where we've been looking at South African wars, and we're almost at the end of the series. We started with the first Boer War, the Anglo-Zulu War of 1879. Then we discussed the second Anglo-Boer War. We looked at the Khoisan Dutch Wars, the Sekhukhune Wars. Last week we looked at the Ndwandwe Zulu Wars, and today we're focusing on the Cape Frontier Wars. And that's going to be at 10:30. At 11 o'clock for our Family Matters feature, we'll be discussing family budgeting for the holiday season. How do you go about getting ready for the holiday season? And budgeting is one of those, right? Some of us just don't do it, but you know when you don't do it, you are one of the people that are going to be coming back complaining in January, right? So we're going to have someone who will help us understand how we can get into the holiday season without breaking bank. So that's what's coming up on our Family Matters feature at 11 o'clock.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702.
All right, so we continue with the conversation that we started on the 702 open line this morning around the murder of Witness D. This is someone who testified at the Madlanga Commission. His name is Marius van der Merwe. We didn't know him as Marius van der Merwe until his murder, and this is someone who gave explosive testimony detailing how EMPD Brigadier Julius Mkhwanazi and other officials had ordered him to dispose of the body of a suspect that was allegedly killed by EMPD and SAPS members. And he was told to dump the body in a dam. And that's what he told the commission he did because he was fearing for his own life. I mean, the way he explained how they even escorted him to go and dump that body in a dam, it's quite hectic. And the fact that he has shared a similar story with IPID, and we still don't have clarity as to whether anything was ever done with the information that was shared with IPID is actually quite shocking to us. So I've been asking you, if you do work that puts you at risk, when you read about such stories, what does that make you feel? I know in the past when we've had, in fact, after Mofolo, the former, the auditor from Ekurhuleni who was also murdered, assassinated. After that, I was asking some of you who are auditors, who are detectives, who are private investigators, who do work that puts you at risk as to how you manage. And a lot of you have indicated that, in fact, some of you have changed careers because you wanted to put your family first. You realized how that particular profession puts your life at risk. And when we're hearing stories of people being murdered simply for doing their job or for blowing the whistle on something, that's turning us into a lawless state. That's an attack on justice. It's an attack on the rule of law. And that's why I think all of us need to rally and ensure that we demand accountability and we help the police where we can to get to the bottom of this. Tebogo Gas is the chairperson of Public Interest South Africa, joining us on the line to talk about the issue of protecting, not these witnesses or whistleblowers. What do we need to do? Tebogo, thank you for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and thank you for having me.
I mean, it's so sad that it's almost every month you probably get booked for interviews now, or every second month to talk about someone who has been murdered, not because they are a terrible people who are doing crime, but because they dared, tell the truth, blow the whistle on something else. And that's raising a lot of questions about what country we're going to have if this is what criminals are going to do when they don't like what someone else is saying.
In fact, let me add on what you just said, Clement, and I think that is a very good encapsulation of the issue. Those who are actually fingered for wrongdoing get to be glorified before parliamentary committees and be called footmans and supposed role models for our youth. And it is a worrisome state of affairs that we find ourselves in. In fact, when history books are written about about crime, organized crime, and how our society was lost, this will certainly feature prominently, because those who dare, speak out or expose wrongdoing are most likely to face retaliation than protection, as we've seen with what happened to Marius van der Merwe.
What consequences are we looking at here at Tebogo? Because we have spoken before. In fact, a lot of our conversations in the past, you'll see, were more about people who blow the whistle and they don't have a job afterwards. And they are untouchable because no company wants to work with you as much as the company embraces and celebrates. Even if they claim to celebrate, even whistleblowers, they've got mechanisms that protect them. There are companies that just don't want to touch you once you have blown the whistle and you are known. So that was sort of like the first issue that whistleblowers were facing, that we don't have livelihoods. And now we're getting to a point where it's no longer just about livelihoods. It's getting worse and worse that they are being murdered. What does this mean, not only for the rule of law, but for the truth itself? A lot of people are just going to be scared to speak out.
The truth is, Clement, as you rightly put it, there's duplicity both in the private and public sector. We have captains of industry standing on podiums talking about ethics, governance, and you name it. They measure their ESGs. We talk about ethics, sustainability, and governance. And yet, if any of the employees dare speak about the wrongdoings in that company, they are rushed to actually protect what they say, their reputation, which might hit their bottom line and share prices. And yet, at the same time, that pontification flourishes. And whistleblowers themselves, as you've seen with especially the state capture era, most of those individuals, I'll mention a name, people like Tema Maseko, struggle to actually be even absorbed or get employed within the public sector, the private sector. Yet, from the same companies that elevate and speak about the nobility of what he has done, he is just an epitome of many other whistleblowers who today are struggling to make a livelihood only because their dead shine a light on what they're doing.
So what do you think should be the approach of the commission when there's someone who comes to testify, a witness, and the witness says, I don't want security? Because in this case, we are told that the witness was offered security and he said he's fine because he owns a security company. And I wonder if the commission had to insist or persuade him to get that, because I would imagine that the commission has done sort of a threat assessment based on the information that he'd given them, and they realize the kind of risk that he is in. What should be the approach of the commission? Because I think this gives us an opportunity and gives the commission an opportunity to rethink the security arrangement, so that when the next time someone also says, no, I'm good with security, they're able to approach it differently, knowing what the consequences could be.
Here's the deal, Clement. We all know that once you go into witness protection or you're invited to be in the system, your life changes completely. Your family, your social life gets to be changed. Never mind that, your livelihood, as well as the ability for you to eke out a living for your family. Now, if that is not adequately catered for, you are going to find it difficult for you to get into witness protection. And I suspect that is where Mr. van der Merwe found himself in, where he might have well said, yes, you give me protection, but what about this environment that I have to find myself having to let go of and to make a livelihood for me? Are you also going to, take care of my family, my business, or the people who rely on me for their livelihood? So there are shortcomings, and I don't think it would be so much unreasonable to expect them to give him the kind of profit that he may have deriving from his business. But the point is, there's a huge suspicion here, Clement. The people who do risk assessment, remember, they are policemen themselves. And here you are, you're talking about a witness who was fingering wrongdoing by police. Now you tell me, could there have been an influence upon those who are doing that risk assessment to not persist in making sure that he goes into the witness protection system, because it would benefit them if he refuses witness protection and he declines it, knowing they will know full well that he'll be exposed. And that is a suspicion that is valid, which we are not taking into confidence as to what is the extent to which he was tied to, he was offered protection. And until those questions are answered, remember, his operator was operating in an environment that is filled with violence, the Zamazama, the illegal mining. We still have a kingpin, a so-called kingpin, who was let go of by the police. Is it in Stilfontein or wherever that
Stilfontein. He's still gone.
Even today, we still don't know it because he was assisted by police. We've heard that some police are going through disciplinary hearing. I wouldn't be surprised if they're let go or nothing becomes of that. But the fact of the matter is that how do you trust the very same system that wants to protect you, the very same system that actually harms you or is likely to harm you? So we need to have a conversation. And I think the minister must look herself in the mirror and say, is that the kind of approach that a credible leader that she is, in my eye, would really want to be to be accepted as somebody who have got no regard of what we are dealing with here, the seriousness of this, and for her to be flippant and want to point the finger at the media for having been a reason why Mr. van der Merwe is now demised.
So the part of the issue here, I suppose, is the legislation, because as it stands now, can we say that whistleblowers are legally protected? And what do you, as Public Interest South Africa, propose as perhaps an overhaul of the whistleblower and witness protection? What do you think can work?
There is no protection at all. Forget. I'll deal with the issue of the legislation for now. Forget. And your point, Clement. One of the witnesses within the Maganga Commission, I won't mention names, has faced retaliation by way of a civil suit running into millions and millions of rands only because he went to the Mazanga and spoke the truth. And now he's been threatened with legal civil suit. And nobody, the commission cannot defend him. The commission is not mandated to provide legal protection for him. Where will government, what is government doing? Nothing. Now, you as a witness, you are now exposed to now having your life turned around because you went and told the truth. And after having done so, society and the government is of no use for you. You have to defend for yourself, to go and defend yourself. Now, talking about the issue of legislation, we've been advocating for legislation to be changed for years. We are grateful to hear that by end of this year, a bill will be ready. End of the year is only about 13 or 20 days or so left. We'll see if we see any bill coming out. We still believe that will be done. But even if we can have the best whistleblower, protected disclosure act or whistleblowing legislation in place, enforcement becomes an issue. Implementation becomes an issue. We've got a government that is not well known for implementing its policies or the laws. So you can have the beautiful constitution, but the constitution means nothing if it doesn't mean that it vindicates people's basic rights as contained in the Bills of Rights. So yes, much as we're looking forward to this new legislation, the question is, how is it going to be implemented? How is the other parts, the other cogs that depend on it? You've got a criminal justice system that this new legislation will depend on. Is the criminal justice system fit for purpose? Will it be fit to make sure that it lives up to the spirit of whatever the new legislation says? Unless there's the kind of things that we hear at the Malganga commissions that we sent to General Mkhwana's, we were not aware of. Unless those things are addressed and the rod is expunged, it's excised from the criminal justice system, including the NPA itself, we are on for a big thing.
Tebogo Gas, thank you for speaking to us. He's the chairperson of Public Interest South Africa. Let's bring in Chad Thomas now, who is a crime expert and organized crime investigator at IRS Forensic Investigation. Chad, thank you so much for also joining this chat. Good morning.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and good morning to you and the listeners.
So when you have cases like this, where either someone is being killed because of the work that they do within the illegal mining, and there are people that are after them because they are sort of shutting down these illegal shafts, or they are getting murdered because they have revealed something or they were a witness at an inquiry, like, for instance, the Matlanga Commission. What are the consequences for our rule of law? Because this almost feels like an attack on justice, an attack on the rule of law. And the concern is this is going to turn us into a lawless state.
Yeah, it seems like that's where we're going towards. And it's a very sad indictment on where we find ourselves as a country. We've got so much going for us, yet it's the crime that has created the biggest problem. It's created a socio-economic problem. We have lack of investment from foreigners based on the fact that they're nervous to do business in this country because we're on a knife's edge. And in my particular space, when we started IRS Forensics 25 years ago, we were investigating complex financial crimes. Never in a million years did I imagine that all these years later we'd be on a watching brief for the Pena family for the assassination of Marumo Pena, for the Mafole family for the assassination of Mafole, for the Sefoka family for the assassination of DJ Somebody, and now looking into this murder of Marius van der Merwe. I thought with the ad hoc committee, with the establishment of the Matlanga Commission, with all the interest that the media has shown, and the media have been absolute stars in exposing the rot of corruption in this country, that the criminals would take a back seat to see how these commissions of inquiry play out, and perhaps instead of trying to do damage control, trying to find a way in which they could extricate themselves from this. And it seems to be the opposite. It seems that they now are going to actively go after people that they may believe could testify against them at a later stage.
So what do you think, what would be your advice for like a commission like the Matlanga Commission? How should they approach the issue of witness protection? Because what we are being told is that they did offer some protection for witness D, for Marius, and he said, well, he works in the security industry, he didn't need that. But what should be the approach? Because I would imagine you need to do a threat assessment so that you figure out what level of risk we're talking about here based on the information that is also being presented to the Commission. Here's an opportunity to do things better in as far as witness protection is concerned, to avoid something similar happening to any of the witnesses who will still testify or have already testified. What would be your advice?
So we don't have to go to the extreme of witness protection programs, creating pseudo-identities, creating safe houses in different provinces. That's overkill. When we look at the budget for the police every year, only 2% of the budget goes towards the Hawks, which investigate priority crimes. But between 3.5% and 4% of the budget goes towards close protection and security services. So if they are able to protect politicians who aren't living in secrecy, but they have vehicles that are bulletproof, they have members who are trained who can look after them, then perhaps we need to look at something similar. Nobody really wants to go into a witness protection program in South Africa because their life is completely in turmoil. Everything is new. The families are affected. The businesses are affected. The friendships and the family relationships are affected. So we don't have to go to the extreme of witness protection. What we can do is introduce close protection measures like we see for mayors, like we see for ministers, MMCs, MECs. All of that, where we see overkill with these blue light brigades, can be utilized in the effective protection of whistleblowers, where you have somebody at their home doing static protection duties and you have them escorted to and from their testimony, and it depends on how long they would need that for. But it's so important that we show that we're serious about doing something before we cause a reluctance of witnesses to now come forward.
Sure, yeah, let's hope that's going to be what really assists us. And Chad, a lot of people are, of course, as we wrap up, because I said earlier that I don't think we are at the level of countries like Mexico, and someone said, yeah, but what gives you the authority, Clement, to say that things are so bad on the ground? What's your assessment? You are a crime expert. You observe a lot of organized crime. Do you think we are there already? Or are we slightly getting there?
No. You know what? There was this whole capture narrative. We were never fully captured. Now there's this failed state, mafia state narrative. We're not. And we know we're close to that. When you look at the list that sadly we appear on because of the high rates of crime in South Africa, we're up there with countries like Haiti that haven't had an administration for a number of years now. We're there with countries like Afghanistan that have been at war for as long as living memory. So we're being compared to other jurisdictions that have multiple issues. Our main issue in South Africa is criminality, corruption, and a lack of will from the policing authorities or lack of resources and capacity. If we can fix crime, we can fix a lot in this country. Remember, we've just come out of a national election cycle. We're going into a local election cycle in 2026. If we were a failed state, we wouldn't have these commissions of inquiry. We wouldn't have a fierce and free media, and we wouldn't be able to elect people that are doing what they're doing as our representatives like we see within the ad hoc committee. So no, we're not a failed state and we're not a mafia state.
Got it. Thank you so much for making time for us. Chad Thomas, crime expert and organized crime investigator at IRS Forensic Investigations. That takes us to 10:30. Which means it's time for the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. When we come back, we look at the Xhosa Wars, the so-called Cape Frontier Wars. What really happened there? What were they about? These outbreaks of wars between the Xhosa Kingdom and the white European slave traders. If you've got any question around that time period and what transpired during the wars, you can give us a call or send us a WhatsApp voice note. So good morning.
Thanks, Clements. Good morning. As the ANC kicks off its National General Council, a small group of disgruntled staffers are picketing over the non-payment of salaries. The group, supported by trade union Nahau, says some ANC workers are still waiting for their November pay. They have staged their picket near the entrance of the Birchwood Hotel in Boksburg, where the ANC's 5th NGC is taking place. A police officer officer has killed his colleague before turning the gun on himself in Limpopo. The shooting happened at the Nkoankoa police station near Tsanin this morning. The male officer opened fire on his female colleague during an argument. And communities have been urged to be cautious when handling stokvel savings and other social club funds during the festive season. Thousands of South Africans are preparing to withdraw or distribute money saved throughout the year. Authorities say that this period has unfortunately become a peak time for criminals who target stokvel groups, social saving clubs, and individuals withdrawing large amounts of cash. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Traveling in the city of Tshwane, we've got some delays along the N1 North. This is between the Flying Saucer Interchange and Rigel Avenue. That's due to an earlier accident. While on the N1 South, some delays between Samrin Avenue and Olifantsfontein Road. That's in the Midrand area, so please be on the lookout there. And if you're heading towards Samrin Avenue exit, do expect delays because there's an accident that happened on the N1 North right near New Road. It's causing delays from Allendale Road. There's also queuing traffic on the M1 South between the Grayston Drive off-ramp and Kohler Drive. This is now due to the roadworks that are taking place along this route, about a 10-minute hold up there. There's also roadworks causing delays on the N12 West. This is between the Edenville Road exit and the Gilulis interchange. More updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
It's been a long year of, I hope this email finds you well. One long year of loop backs, circle backs, going back to the drawing board, touching base, pushing the envelope, taking things offline and thinking outside the box. Thank goodness, AV's 4 for 3 is here. For vacays, bakeys, imicimbi, nemikiti, and weddings. If you book a car for a minimum of 4 days, you'll only pay for 3. Plus, if it's a Group A car, you get upgraded to a stylish Group B car so you can really get into the vibe. Visit avis.co.za for bookings. Terms and conditions apply.
You could spend 10 minutes waiting for that file to download. Or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. For his 2024 Ford Ranger, 57-year-old Andy now pays only 1,083 Rand a month. And for her 2020 Hyundai Tucson, 48-year-old Felicity pays just 836 Rand a month. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Some moments only come around once, like the Audi year-end sale. Get the Audi A1 from 6,999 per month with no deposit, a 90-day payment break, so you only start paying next year. Plus, a guaranteed buyback. There's limited time to show up, but unlimited time to stand out in the Audi A1. Visit audi.co.za or your nearest Audi dealer before the 24th of December. T's and C's apply.
On 27 November 2025, Cell C listed on the JSE as one of the top 30 most valuable brands in the country, according to Kantar Brand Z 2024. This is a big change for the brand, its customers and investors alike. This week, 702 is in conversation with Cell C, and they will share the reason behind going public, how it will affect you as the customer, what value it brings to the investors, and more. Stay tuned to 702 in conversation with Cell C this Tuesday on The Money Show with Stephen Grootes between 6 and 8 p.m.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702. Let's walk the talk.
It's 25 minutes before 11 o'clock. So we started this series a couple of weeks ago where we look at South African wars or wars that happened in this country. We are almost at the end of the series, and we started by looking at the first Boer War. This is when we discussed the Anglo-Zulu War. So the first Boer War, then we discussed the Anglo-Zulu War of 1879, and then we discussed the second Anglo-Boer War. We looked at the Khoisan Dutch Wars, the Sekhukhune Wars. Last week, we looked at the Ndwandwe Zulu Wars, and today we're focusing on the Cape Frontier Wars, right? So some other people call them the Xhosa Wars, but they are also known as the Cape Frontier Wars. And this is where a series of 9 wars or outbreaks took place between the Xhosa Kingdom and the white European slave traders in what is now known as the Eastern Cape. And these are war incidents that were the longest running military action in the history of African colonialism, and one of the most prolonged struggles by African people against European intrusion, having started in 1779 until 1879. After 100 years of warfare, the Xhosa were finally defeated in 1878. And without cattle, the grain stores being destroyed by the British, the people were starving. Where gunpowder and cannons had been unable to quench their spirit, starvation eventually ended that resistance. And this is when the wars ended in the annexation of Xhosa territories by the Cape Colony. Do you remember what happened with these wars? Do you remember what happened? And from what you have read, of course, with the Cape Frontier Wars, or the so-called Xhosa Wars, what was your reference point? I'd like you to share your thoughts with us on 011-883-0702 or send a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702. We're still trying to get a hold of our guest, Zolani Mkiva, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Xhosa Royal Council and Cultural Advisor, who agreed to chat to us about this issue this morning. We're still trying to get a hold of him. He hasn't been answering, but as soon as he does, I will bring them on the radio. But I'm just also asking, what have you read about the Xhosa Wars or the Cape Frontier Wars? What do you remember about what you have read and what piqued your interest? Give us a call or send us a WhatsApp voice note. It's 23 before 11.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Building a life across borders starts with choices. Visas, a second passport, citizenship, your child's education abroad, and sometimes those choices can be overwhelming. For 30 years, Sable International has simplified global mobility, including cross-border tax, forex, and wealth management, helping you make the right choices with expertise and care. Build your future beyond borders. Visit us at sableinternational.com.
702.
The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
20 minutes before 11 o'clock. Let's bring in Zolani Mkiva now, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Xhosa Royal Council and Secretary General of Contralesa, to talk to us about the Cape Frontier Wars. Mr. Mkiva, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
No, thank you very much for inviting me. Albeit the fact that it's been on a short notice on a very serious matter like this. But however, I welcome the platform because this is our history, this is our heritage, and this is our experience as the Xhosa people as well as Africans in general.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for making time, Mr. Mkiva. What were the Cape Frontier Wars and why are they considered one of the longest anti-colonial struggles in African history?
Well, you will recall that the context is that you have had the arrival of the settlers or the people of European origin. And what they did, even though they started by coming to the South African territory to establish a refreshment station, but soon as they realized that this land is a rich land and it's a wonderful landscape, very good for grazing and agriculture and so on and so forth. So they then started a process of expansion, and they wanted to spread themselves across the country in order to take all the critical and strategic points of the locations of the country. As they were expanding, they then realized as they were interacting with the Khoi and San as well as the Xhosa people, that these people actually had wealth in terms of livestock, cattle, sheep, and goats, and so on and so forth. So these wars start as a result of the people of this country, being the Khoi, San, and the Xhosa, to defend their land. Because in their expansion, they were taking over parcels of land, but at the same time, capturing and stealing their cattle and their wealth in terms of other livestock, animals. In that way, these wars, we can critically define them as wars of dispossession, because the people of this country, Amaxhosa in particular and the Khoisan, needed to defend their land from being dispossessed. Hence, they are defined as wars of dispossession. At the same time, we equally define them as wars of resistance, because we resisted, our forefathers and ancestors resisted resiliently the expansion as well as the taking of their land brutally, the killing of their people, and in a mercilessly and very brutal way by both the Dutch, that is people of Dutch origin, which were called Boers, in their great trek as they defined. Because when they were expanding and taking one territory after another, they called that the Great Trek. And specifically in 1779, this is the period where in between the Sundays River and the Great Fish River, where the first battle or the first war of the 9 frontiers began. And that's where they were very brutal, using every trick above the surface to actually take over the livestock and the land and actually displace the people and remove them from their homes and their territories.
Yeah. So to be clear, who ultimately was involved in the war? Did you say it's the Xhosa, the Khoi, the San, Dutch Boers, and later the British?
The British, yes, yeah. Well, remember that the Xhosa kingdom was an establishment. It was a state headed by a king who was the head of government as well as the head of the army. Very organized, and people, the leadership understood their own territory. So the Xhosa royal family, the senior traditional leaders of the different clans of Amaxhosa were actually involved. Imidange, Imidushane, Amagunukwebe, Amambalu, and many other clans, including the royal dynasty of Amatawe, was at the forefront of that. Then, because the Xhosas were also related to the Khoi and San people, not only by cultural terms, but also biologically, because there were intermarriages amongst them, and there was a proper interaction between their cultural communities, to the extent that when they were confronted by the enemies that were attacking them, they decided to have a strategic partnership and a strategic approach to counteract the attacking British as well as the attacking Dutch colonial, warlords.
Were there any divisions among the Xhosa chiefs at the time? And if so, how did they shape the war? I mean, with certain Xhosa groups cooperating with colonial forces at the time, I would imagine that would change the dynamics of that war.
Remember that Britain, as well as other colonial, outfits like the VOC, the Dutch East India Company, have already gained experience elsewhere in their colonial approach. So when they were coming to South Africa at that time, they already learned on how to deal with the natives, if I may put it that way. And one of their strategies was divide and conquer. So what they did, besides using the gunpowder and the cannonize in attacking our people, they also infiltrated our society by making offers and virtues to some of our own people in order to divide and rule over us ultimately. So some people fell into that trap. People who love finer things in life were seduced with items that were material, like tobacco and many other things. A different type of tobacco, and little nonsenses, that people have never seen, from little things like combs as well as mirrors and so on. And they fell into that trap, and they were also promised gold and silver in that process. In that way, that created a division between a brother and a brother in some context. And therefore, that actually caused some setbacks as people were trying to resist the colonial, warlords. In that way, this created a tension amongst the Xhosa people themselves, to the extent that they had to declare some of their own people the enemies of the Xhosa kingdom as a state.
And what about the tactics of the Xhosa? Because what we've read about is how these colonialists build forts, they build like these military posts and signal towers along the frontier. What was the military tactic of the Xhosa kingdom?
Remember that at first the British and the Boers surprised us with the gunpowder and the usage. But with time, the Xhosa regiments and the Xhosa army had learned that the gunpowder doesn't work when it's raining or when it's humid. And therefore, their tactic in that particular issue was that they would attack them when, for instance, the weather does not favor them to use the guns and the cannons. And that's one of the tactics. Secondly, they knew that they had to ambush. So they had to use a guerrilla warfare, to attack them rather than using a conventional way of dealing with them, because they had suffered, brutal consequences when they confronted in the earlier years with conventional way by seeing them toe to toe in an open field. So they had to use guerrilla and surprise them with attacks when they are sleeping, and also use the landscape that they know, mountains, cliffs, and so on, including rolling stones to them and all trapping them to the highest peaks, so that as they come up, they throw stones at them, they roll big stones against them. Those were the tactics. There was no one mode of attacking and counter-attacking the British as well as the colonial governments, except that they had to use creativity and the understanding that they have of their own terrain and scenery.
Which of those 9 frontier wars would you say were the most significant turning points?
Well, all of them were very significant. But Imfazwe Yezembe is one of the defining moments, because when Utsili, the cousin brother to Sandile, was arrested by the colonialists, for instance, and then Amaxhosa went to liberate him, the whites were very brutal in their response in that equation. That war, as well as the war in Grahamstown, Egazini, also killed a number of people when Makhanda was involved and had assured the army that he will make the rain on that day, and when the bullets were fired by the colonialists would not work because of the weather and this and that, because he was also a war doctor. So he predicted the defeat. So Amaxhosa suffered a great deal in that war in the Grahamstown area as we know it today. But also, very importantly, the War of Yinsa in 1834 was actually very critical, because remember that King Yinsa was the head of state at that time. And for a longest period of time, he had played the white people back and forth, to the extent that when they were demanding certain things from him, he would refer them to the right-hand house of Amaxhosa across the Kai, and then they realized out of that they were being played, and then they became very brutal, to the extent that by the time they actually captured King Yinsa and brutally killed him, they had actually massacred thousands of Amaxhosa and have taken thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of their livestock, and which left Amaxhosa poorer. And I want to make this point that as they conquered King Yinsa was killed in a very, very dehumanizing way. They cut off his private parts and they cut off his ears, and they took off his set of teeth, and then ultimately we are told that they have taken their skull. They cut his head and took his skull to Britain, before the Queen, before the throne of Britain, to actually give that as a throne, because the killing of Inza was the ultimate, a sore point for Ramaphosa, because he was a spiritual leader of his people, he was a political leader of his people, he was a cultural leader and a military leader, was actually the commander-in-chief, attributed as the most brilliant, one of the most brilliant legendary kings of Ramaphosa. So his killing was actually a drawback for Ramaphosa and a disaster for the nation.
Sure. What a story. What role did starvation play is that what played a bigger role in breaking the Xhosa resistance?
You are asking a very important question. After the killing of Inza, of course, the British colonial government pursued their offensive against Ramaphosa because they wanted to finish them off. They followed up on Inza's son, Sahili, and pursued him. And he had to run and rule his community in hiding, as it were. But the Xhosas didn't give up. So when the British realized that these people are stubborn and they are not prepared to back down, they then decided to employ a psychological warfare. Now, at that time, you will recall that they had already understudied the Xhosa culture as well as the belief system of Xhosa and their spirituality, and including the language. So we believe that what has become known as the cattle killing, which started off with some mystic, Nongause as well as Nonkosi, because there were two girls. There was Nongause on the other side of the Transkei, and Nonkosi on the other side, which was known as Ciskei in the recent history. So these two girls sort of had this communication that looked very authentic, that they had been approached by ancestors that then communicated a message to them that they must deliver to the royal palace to say that people on a certain day, a sun will rise as usual from the east, but when it reaches midday, it will reverse and go back where it came from. And on that score, the white people will be washed away by the sea, and the stability of Xhosa and society at large will come back to its normalcy. This was a threat. It also divided the people. And it worked in the national side, because others believed this storyline of Nongause, that people must slaughter their cattle, must slaughter their livestock, they must burn their fields and burn their reserves, in their cellars. And this will then lead to the return of normalcy in their society and the defeat over the colonial powers. This caused a major starvation and famine, which led to the death of many, many, many people, even though others did not believe that because there were those that were called Amakola and others Amagogonya in this instance. But that damage was done because so George Gray was the mastermind behind this nonsense. And however, it led to the starvation, it led to the loss of wealth, it led to many, many serious things that actually brutalized the Xhosa kingdom, to the extent that it was the beginning of the employment of people who have never been employees or laborers in that sense. It led actually to our people being made slaves of the colonial government and working for a penny and working for a pound and so on and so forth. So it was a very devastating, and this is a period between 1856 and 1858, as it were.
So you spoke about, was it the Transkei or the Ciskei that you spoke about? The establishments of the Ciskei, the Transkei. What's the reflection? What does that reflect about the colonial attempts to sort of reorder and control the Xhosa society?
You spoke about the forts. The forts, after every battle and every skirmish, these guys installed these forts in order to rearrange the structural arrangements of the Xhosa kingdom and the locations of where people reside. So they moved people around by using brutality of the gun and the cannon. And so the issue of the forts was used in that context, you understand, because it was making certain marks to begin to install their colonial approach of rearranging a country and stealing a society of a people and their land. So in respect of what is called the across the Khai and the other side of the Khai, it meant that a river, which was a very important landmark in the Xhosa kingdom, because it's a river that was supplying water to the kingdom, one of the greatest rivers. Tumbashe River, the Great Khai River, the Great Fish River, the Sundays River, all those rivers were basically responsible, amongst others, to provide water, sanity for the people. Also, rivers where the herds of cattle and the flock of sheep that were belonging to these communities were used to go and drink. Basically, that river now was used to divide a community that was once united. And that river was a river of time and a river of confluence, in the sense that it was never a borderline that divided people who belong from the same source. But it was a heritage river, as I say, a river of significance. So, it was then used by the colonial people to divide the very Xhosa people into Xhosas of the East and Xhosas of the West, if I may put it that way. And to that extent, by the time the colonial government reached the apartheid state, then you had the labeling of the one side as Ciskei and the other side on the east as a Transkei. But that is a mere usage of a geographical, a river into a border that does not really exist in the history of the people. So in that way, this is how it came about. Otherwise, that's why Transkei carries a label that is associated with negativity. Otherwise, there's nothing negative, because it means across the Khai, literally. It's just that it was used in the context of dividing a people into two different people, and yet they are one people.
So how, as we wrap up, how were the frontier wars remembered? And were they remembered differently by colonial writers versus African oral traditions?
Well, obviously, if the story of the conquered is written by the conqueror, obviously the conqueror will write the story to suit himself. But we have then said in a post-colonial South Africa, let us rewrite our history in our own terms. Because what they have written, these people were stealing the cattle of Amaxhosa. But when you read their book, they say, we captured a large herd of cattle. But whenever they refer to Amaxhosa taking back what it belonged to them, they would say Amaxhosa have stole their property and their cattle. So I'm just making an example like that they have written a subjective history to suit them, and which is a history that they use to date to actually hold on to an asset, a national asset that does not belong to them, that does not belong to his great-grandchildren, but belong to the African majority. These are some of the things that we ought to talk about as we rewrite our history. So we continue with the trajectory of rewriting, but we have not yet really celebrated these wars, because we were victorious in the sense that we were able to hold the colonialists for 100 years before they could proceed to other parts of the country, to the extent that we had gained a huge experience on dealing with them, that even King Shaka himself, at one point, one of his military advisors is Sonjika, who was once an advisor of King Yinta. He had fled by a ship, actually hiding in a vessel, and he jumped out of the shores of the KZN as we know it today. And King Shaka called him, and he used the intelligence that he got from him. By the time the white people were approaching Zululand, he was already aware of the tactics of what they have done amongst Amaxhosa. That's why he had a huge respect of Amaxhosa, King Shaka, even though he never had an interaction with them. But because he interacted with military advisors like Sonjika, he was able to know, because he was given a mental picture of what brutality they were employing and what military strategies were they employing.
Got it. Zolani Mkiva, thank you so much, man, for speaking to us. What an incredible story. Zolani sharing with us there about the Cape Frontier Wars. Zolani is the Chief Executive Officer of the Xhosa Royal Council and Secretary General of Contralesa.
At Auto & General, we understand your business is built on more than just vehicles. It's your stock, tools and equipment, and the premises where you work. Auto & General Business Insurance is designed for businesses like yours, protecting your assets against fire, theft, storms, and other unexpected events. To protect your livelihood, visit autogen.co.za and get an obligation-free business insurance quote. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Some numbers bring instant stress, like a speeding fine, another petrol price hike, or that one debit order you forgot about, again. But not all numbers bring panic. Some bring calm and actual life-saving support. With 24/7 emergency support and over 300 ambulances, ER24 is there when you need us most. Don't wait for an emergency. See it, say it, save it. 084 124.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. As the ANC kicks off its National General Council, a small group of disgruntled staffers is picketing over the non-payment of salaries. The group, supported by trade union Nahau, says some ANC workers are still waiting for their November pay. They have staged their picket near the entrance of the Birchwood Hotel in Boksburg, where the ANC's 5th NGC is taking place. Tabiso Goba is there.
At a media briefing yesterday, ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula said salaries for the party's junior staffers have been paid.
Issues of non-payment of staff have been attended to and have been resolved.
However, today's picket includes many of the ANC's junior staffers, from photographers, admin and security staff. Spokesperson for the workers, Dan Seminya, says the late and non-payment of staff salaries is a persistent problem in the ANC.
It cannot be correct that the ANC as a caring movement is not able to care for its staff internally before it starts to deliver services to society in general.
The ANC says the picketing workers will be addressed by its leadership. Tabiso Goba, Eyewitness News, Boksburg.
A police officer has killed his colleague before turning the gun on himself in Limpopo. The shooting happened at the Nkoankua police station near Tsanin this morning. The male officer opened fire on his female colleague during an argument. President Cyril Ramaphosa says it's a shame that South Africa has the dubious distinction of having one of the world's highest levels of violence against women and girls. South Africa is among nations marking 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, which ends on Wednesday. Writing in his weekly newsletter, Ramaphosa says government has classified GBV and femicide as a national disaster in recognition that dealing with the scourge demands exceptional measures. Lindsay Dentlinker reports.
According to a 2022 study by the Human Sciences Research Council, more than a third of South African women 18 and older have experienced physical or sexual violence in their lifetime. President Cyril Ramaphosa says by classifying GBVF as a national disaster, the mandates of respective government departments are strengthened. The classification allows for expanded access to shelters and safe spaces, as well as psychosocial counselling and community-based prevention programs. Affected organs of state will be required to submit progress reports to the National Disaster Management Centre on the actions they are taking. But Ramaphosa has reiterated that unless men are directly engaged, the statistics won't change. He says this is not a fight to be waged by women alone, and the National Disaster Classification will include accelerating prevention programs targeting men and boys. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News.
The Phala burglary trial has been postponed to next year. This after accused 3 in the matter, Ndilisho Joseph, did not appear in the Mudumole Regional Court this morning after allegedly falling ill. Emanuela David and siblings Floriana and Ndilisho Joseph are facing charges of housebreaking, theft and money laundering after they allegedly stole $580,000 from President Cyril Ramaphosa's Phala farm. Magistrate Peter Manata postponed the matter to January 13th. And communities have been urged to be cautious when handling stokvel savings and other social club funds during the festive period. Thousands of South Africans are preparing to withdraw or distribute money saved throughout the year. Authorities say this period has unfortunately become a peak time for criminals who target stokvel groups, social savings clubs, and individuals withdrawing large sums of cash. Limpopo's Community Safety Department spokesperson Dali Chifiwa says extra vigilance is needed to avoid a dark Christmas.
Avoid withdrawing bulk cash, especially during high-risk periods such as month-end and December. Use electronic transfer for payouts directly into each other's member account. Deposit contributions electronically instead of collecting cash at meetings. Never announce or publicize stokvel meeting times, payouts dates, and venues. Remain vigilant when entering or leaving banks, ATMs, or financial institutions.
Gold is trading at $4,209.22 an ounce. The rand is at 16.97 to the dollar, 22.61 to the pound, 19.77 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $63.86 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got some delays on the N3 North between Van Buren Road and the Giluli's interchange. This is due to roadworks. There's also roadworks causing heavy delays on the M1 South between Grayston Drive and Corlett Drive.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng, with scattered showers and thunder showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 26 and 28 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: as the ANC kicks off its National General Council, a small group of disgruntled staffers is picketing over the non-payment of salaries.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
8 minutes after 11 o'clock. Welcome to the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Time for our Family Matters feature.
702.
Family Matters.
On our Family Matters feature today, we are discussing the holiday season that is before us and family budgeting for this season. And I would like to know if you are the type of person that budgets for the festive season, or are you a type of person that just wings it? Because this is a time of joy for a lot of people and a lot of families. It's a time for family gatherings. It's got a lot of traveling, a lot of celebration, but it's also a period when many South Africans feel intense financial pressure. And, you know, your December bonuses often disappear quickly. Holiday expenses are piling up in January with school fees, stationery, uniforms, you name it. That can also hit you hard. And you want to make sure that you come back in January not under financial strain, right? You don't want to come back when you have fallen into debt or you're starting the new year on the back foot. So how do you prepare for the festive season so that you don't break bank? How do you avoid impulse spending? How do you manage expectations even with children? Because they've got lots of expectations. How do you manage that? Planning for travel, gifts, groceries, and that tough January stretch. because there are different options to stay financially grounded while still enjoying your holidays. That's why we've invited our guest today to share some of those with us. But we also want to hear from you. Give us a call on 011-883-0702. Please give us a call to share your experiences of how you prepare for a period like this, and how do you deal with expectations that will also just come up that you had not budgeted for. My guest this morning is Gareth Collier, who is the Director and Financial Planner at Firecrest Group, who's going to guide us through this conversation, and then we'll take your calls as well in between. Gareth, thank you for making time. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Clement. Thank you for having me.
It's almost like a conversation you and I can have every single December, because we almost expect the same thing to happen every single year. Why do many families struggle financially during the festive season?
Yeah, Clement, I think you've raised a lot of concerns there in your introduction. And I think largely in December time, it comes down to the fact that during the festive season, we've very often gotten to the end of the year. People are feeling a little bit tired. We're possibly looking forward to our holidays. We might not have had a break during the year, and I think we just maybe fall into that mindset of it's time to spoil ourselves a little bit, spoil the family, and it can also be falling into that trap of, well, because everyone else is doing it, I feel the need to do it as well. And the problem is, like, I think where we fall a little bit short financially is in that comparative mindset, where we kind of feel the pressure of the people around us, be that friends and family that are maybe appear to be having the time of their life and enjoying the end of the year. We also live in an age of where we smothered with social media as well, kind of people sharing all of their holidays and their great trips that they're doing. And you kind of mentioned earlier, maybe it's a time of year where people will typically get an end of year bonus. Also, a lot of companies may pay December salaries a little bit earlier. So rather than getting paid sort of on the 25th or towards the end of the month, we might get paid in the middle of the month. So we've kind of just gotten our November salary. A couple of weeks later, the December salary lands. We might get a bonus. So we kind of have this kind of groundswell of cash that's available, and it can be very, very tempting to just start spending a little bit. When you kind of find this situation where you're feeling like you want to spend, you want to enjoy yourself, and you might have the financial means at the moment that you otherwise might not have during the year.
Yeah. What are the biggest spending pitfalls that people should look out for during this period?
I think a lot of the time is, with the fact that, the way we spend nowadays, yes, there is still a lot of cash expenditure, but because we can swipe, credit cards or bank cards, we can tap them. We can literally just tap our cell phones to the pay points now as well. It takes away the kind of the physical connotation around the spending. And that might kind of lead us to get a little bit to overdo it somewhat. We may also kind of have that mindset of, I'll swipe now and then sort of fix it later on. I'll pay for it in January or whatever the case may be. I deserve this. I've had a hard year. The other part is that, we might get to the fact that we have all of these festivities that are underway, and Christmas around the corner, and we need to give gifts. So we might just feel like we're a little bit time pressured, and therefore to get something done, we'll end up just kind of spending in a bit of a frenetic way that's a little bit less kind of planned. And of course, this time of year, because there's such a high demand, you might find a bit of a price spike. Things might be going on a premium expenditure. And of course, typically when we're looking at traveling this time of year, so maybe underestimating what our travel costs are going to be, all of those elements do add up pretty quickly. It's bits and pieces, and if they're not pre-planned, if we haven't kind of done some sort of a budget beforehand, or some idea or had a discussion, it can be very easy to kind of fall down that slippery slope into kind of just spending a little bit blindly, a little bit frenetically.
So what's the best thing for families to do then? Because there are some people who like are planning to go home, and when you are home, you're constantly asked for certain things, and then there's suddenly a braai that happens that wasn't planned, or it's a braai that now has 50 people attending as opposed to just the 10 family members. So, I mean, what I'm trying to say is there are things that are unexpected that can happen that require, some more money to be put on the table. How do you deal with things like that? Is it something you can prepare for?
Look, I think, if you have a lot of unexpected guests, that's very difficult to plan for. If you look at something like groceries, I mean, a good way in sort of the November, December period is to try as far as possible buy things like your non-perishable goods that you can kind of keep in your grocery cupboard, and that if you can buy those in bulk, that's great. And then maybe be a little bit more reactive with the perishable things like your meats and that you can kind of buy on the day, and then just control the budgeting a little bit. If these things do blow out into bigger events, I don't think it's unkind to make it more of a bring and share type environment. Maybe as the host, you can provide sort of the basics, like putting on the wood and the coal for braais, and like just having everybody around to your place and the facilities and things. But sometimes it can be a lot of fun as well when you want to organize these bigger things to try and coordinate, well, who's going to bring what, and kind of see how do we share the load. It just de-stresses, I think, the whole process, rather than kind of sweating over what this thing is costing. It allows you to kind of just breathe a little bit more easily, and then actually just enjoy the moment and enjoy the time with people.
And should families draw up like a separate festive season budget, or that becomes something you already start planning for? Let's say in Jan, December is coming, so we're putting away a bit of money for that. Or is it a thing of, okay, let's wait for the bonus, and then we, if you're lucky enough to get one in December, and then you work from there?
Yeah, I think the struggle where you take a let's wait and see approach with budgeting, if you get the bonus or what it's going to be, unfortunately doesn't change the fact that certain costs are going to occur. So it's about kind of setting up like little mental boundaries to say, well, we know what our fixed incomes are, we know what our expenses are, things like we've got January around the corner. Maybe we got paid halfway through the month, so you've got a good 6 weeks until that next kind of salary lands. But things like, rent is due, school fees are going to be due, the kids are going to maybe need school supplies, all of those kind of things. So if you work back, ideally like November, December time, and you can prepare for that December, January period where you start with your costs and understand what those are going to be, and then look at, well, what do we have coming in? Again, the point of budgeting is not to deny yourself things. It's more just to be kind of responsible with your cash flow. And then what it actually does is, if you do have excess, it allows you to kind of spend and enjoy a little bit guilt and stress free. A lot of people kind of want to just ostrich their way through it and not draw up a budget. So in terms of a festive season budget, I think it's very, very important to do. It might feel a little bit awkward if you're not the type of person or family that normally budgets. It might feel like a little bit of a sort of an alien concept.
But they'll thank you for it later.
Yes, no, absolutely. They'll thank you for it. You'll thank yourself for it as well. And I think it also just kind of, again, it talks back to the fact that, like, money is a great enabler. It enables us to do a lot of great things, but it can also be a horrible cause of a lot of stress as well. And the way we avoid that is just to be kind of a little bit more self-disciplined and respectful of our cash flow.
Yeah, true. It's 19 minutes now after 11 o'clock. I'm going to take a quick ad break. When we come back, I'd like to hear from you. Give us a call, 011-883-0702. Are you a type of family that budgets? Are you a type of person that budgets? for the festive season, this holiday season that is upon us, or are you a type of person that wings it? What are some of the things that you're preparing for that you know, when we go home for Christmas or when you go on holiday or, gifting, how do you approach this period? Give us a call on 011-883-0702. Are you more of, or you've got someone in your life perhaps who balances or who can get you to balance the celebration with discipline, especially when it feels like everyone is just spending, because that really is something that we do over this period. We're going to come back with your calls on 011-883-0702.
John Perlman. Weekday afternoons,
3 to 6.
She asked him a very straightforward question. She said, have you ever taken money from Kat Matlala, yes or no? He said yes, but she said it's either yes or no. And then Justice Madlanga said, I think the but is very interesting. And from there, it all seemed to flow.
I watched him attempt to drown himself with bottled water because he was so nervous and anxious. And his chicanery was on display. He was avoiding answering pointed questions with yes or no answers. And this is so valuable for us to understand because it tells us exactly how an organization like the EMPD can be tapped.
John Perlman.
3 to 6 on 702.
Stop. Turn off the noise. Put down the phone. Have dinner with your family. Sit on the couch with your mum. Belly flop into bed for a power nap. Make your house home again with the furniture you'll love at prices you'll love even more. Celebrate style and celebrate savings at Decophone Furniture with incredible discounts every day till end January. In-store or at decophoneSA.co.za.
Business Outsurance are experts in business insurance for real estate agencies, law firms, computer services, and more. Yakolin?
We saved a lot of money when we switched over from another insurance company to Business Outsurance. We've had some claims and they were friendly and efficient and paid out when they promised.
Switch to Business Outsurance and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. Visit outsurance.co.za. Switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
702.
Family Matters.
It's 22 minutes after 11 o'clock. We're discussing family budgeting for the holiday season on our Family Matters feature this morning. And we're taking your calls on 011-883-0702. Let's start with you, Cedric in Randburg. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. How are you?
I'm all right, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, Clement, this whole topic around budgeting is very close to my heart because someone once taught me a long time ago that a budget is a plan. And if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. And for me, even regarding the festive season, I often remind a lot of people in my life that the salary you got in November is supposed to see you throughout the whole of December. You should have planned how you're going to spend that entire salary in December. And your December salary, you should only start spending that from the beginning of January 2026. And just those simple principles actually help quite a lot during this festive season.
And you sound like you are quite a disciplined chap, Cedric. Have you always been disciplined or with your finances growing up?
Look, I'm fortunate. I work in the financial services industry.
I see.
And so it's something that I practice what I preach.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why it sticks so well.
Okay. Well, don't give up on preaching to us, Cedric. Keep on preaching to us until we get it. Thank you for calling Cedric in Randburg, who says, yeah, budgeting is a plan. And he does plan for his December salary. How do you plan for this festive season? On the WhatsApp line, got a message here. A message that says, hey Clement, I really love the idea of buying non-perishable items in bulk. This is a lesson I learned from my mother a long time ago. What I do beginning of the year is to put aside money in a savings account for December groceries for home, and we contribute equally with my sister. Yeah, that's actually quite that's a good way of doing it. Because some of our mothers have got, they've got these groups, societies that they are part of, where they contribute every month, and during December time they go and they put money together. They go buy groceries. They buy everything in bulk. And that's something that's going to last them probably for, depending on how big your family is, for the next couple of months in the new year, which really works out quite well. How do you plan and budget for you for the festive season? 011-883-0702. Gareth, let's talk about the issue of gifting, because this is something that also happens a lot in some families. What are some realistic ways to manage spending on gifts? Because I would imagine there are smarter alternatives to traditional gift buying that can still make the season meaningful, but it's not costing an arm and a leg.
Yeah, I think, when it comes to gift giving, I think a lot of that will come from a sort of family culture background, the way you've always done things. And I suppose there's no explicit right or wrong way. I suppose the clearest answer to say is, be careful of overspending on gifts and getting yourself into debt. That's probably like a fairly easy one to acknowledge. But outside of that, how you do it, like some families will say, look, Christmas is really about the kids. So we'll kind of focus on the gift for kids, and the adults may sort of just step away from the gift giving and rather just enjoy the festivities and the family time and spending time with everyone. Another great way, if you're managing budgets, sometimes like a family secret Santa can be really, really good. If you've got 10 or 20 people in the family, it just means that you kind of buy one gift maybe amongst like the adults and things, if you want to keep the gifts, the gift giving for the kids, and at least then kind of somebody gets something, and that can be a good way to balance sort of budgeting with making sure that there is a bit of gift giving there as well. But gifts also don't have to be materialistic. It could be things like, if you are, if you're a teenager and you want to help your parents out, maybe there could be some sort of like an acts of service type thing that you would like to do, like, maybe helping with babysitting or chores around the house, or just making some sort of a commitment. Maybe you kind of look after your siblings so your parents can go and spend 2 hours having a coffee date or something like that during the day. A lot of those things are incredibly meaningful. I think we obsess. I think there's a lot of advertising that focuses on kind of the materialistic side of this time of year, which sort of is meant to then be a representation of happiness. But I think in ourselves, when we feel pressure from our kids in terms of wanting things, I often like to think back to like our own childhoods and say, like, well, what did you find particularly memorable about, this time of year when you were growing up? Do you remember every single gift that you ever opened? Or do you remember the funny anecdotal things that happened around the braai? Or, was it more fun to go for a family swim or a beach day? Or, maybe it's kicking a ball around, having a kind of just those type of memories, kind of gifts and materialistic things are great. But they do tend to fade, to break, to become unloved, where those memories can really last a lifetime.
Yeah, that's quite important. I want us to also talk about just how you manage kids during this time, because parents have got to manage the expectations with their children when money is tight.
Yeah.
They can also just want anything and everything. How do parents manage that?
I think being transparent and honest with our kids is a great approach. I think too often we feel the need to maybe shield our children away from understanding or knowing about the family finances. Whereas, we've also got to remember that they kind of growing up where they're learning and modeling off us as well. So if we can teach them sort of healthy money habits, and one of those things is feeling comfortable with talking about finances, so that there is a level of understanding as well. Again, I think you will de-stress yourselves incredibly by doing that, and families, children included, I think will start to learn that, you don't want to compromise the family finances for the sake of 1 month of celebration. You don't want that to become like collateral damage for the first quarter or the first half of next year, in order to kind of be, indulgent in one little festive season. But it is challenging, and I think those lessons can be different. Then they need to be age appropriate as well. But yeah, I would encourage people to talk about money a lot more with their kids. Even the call and the WhatsApp message you got in earlier, there immediately those are lessons that people have learned from their parents that have stuck right through with them and will probably be passed down as well. And it's positioning them and their families really well, because their parents took the time to teach them.
Yeah. Do you talk to your children? Give us a call. Do you talk to your children about what you can or cannot afford? I remember we had a conversation about matric dance and how some parents were put under pressure by their kids who were in matric to, this is a car I want, or this is the dress I want because my friends are all going to be dressed in this label. And there's so many things you've got to manage. And I think even with the festive season, a lot of things to manage, because especially the young ones can just demand. How do you manage that in your family? Give us a call. It's 11:31. Bali has the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Bali, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. Lawyers for Johannesburg Director of Public Prosecutions Andrew Chauke have accused NPA boss Shamila Batoyi of poisoning the atmosphere of Chauke's inquiry by baselessly linking him to state capture. Batoyi is being cross-examined in the inquiry into Chauke's fitness to hold office as the main complainant. As the ANC kicks off its National General Council, a small group of disgruntled staffers is picketing over the non-payment of salaries. The group, supported by trade union Nehau, says some ANC workers are still waiting for their November pay. And the Palapala burglary trial has been postponed to next year. This after accused number 3, Ndilinasha Joseph, did not appear in the Mudimula Regional Court today after allegedly falling ill. Emanuela David and siblings Froliana and Ndilinasha Joseph are facing charges of housebreaking, theft, as well as money laundering. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, traveling in Midrand, we've got an accident reported on the N1 North. It's right near New Road. It's causing delays coming out of the Bakru interchange. Please be on the lookout there and expect about a 20-minute hold-up. If you're heading towards areas like Tembisa as well as the city of Tshwane, please try to use the R21 North as a result. While traveling on the N3 South, we've got delays between the Bakru interchange and Vincent Chabalala Road. That's due to the roadworks that are taking place along this route. There's also queuing traffic reported in the Amalgam, Mayfair, as well as Crown City areas. Traffic is backed up on several routes within those areas, including Main Reef Road, Park Drive, Church Street, as well as the M2 West. Please approach with care. More updates coming up at the top of the hour with Karabo Jale. Otherwise, that was your last update from me, Amo Ramela. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Every December, it's the same story. New toys, new clothes, and more takeaways. And by January, the bonus is gone. Grow it, don't blow it with a Nedbank investment. Invest 100,000 Rand or more in a Nedbank 12-month electronic fixed deposit account and stand a chance to win 50,000 Rand. Invest your bonus and grow your future. See money differently. Nedbank. We're licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
This festive season, receive the gift of instant payment when you sell to WeBuyCars. Simply complete the form on webuycars.co.za for your offer, then visit your nearest port or branch or have them come to you with wishing for a new ride. Well, you can discover thousands of affordable vehicles online or at any WeBuyCars branch. WeBuyCars, the jolliest way to buy or sell.
702.
Family Matters.
25 minutes before 12 o'clock. I've got some of your questions that have come through on 072 702 1702. I'm going to go to your calls now in a moment as well on 011 883 0702 as we discussed family budgeting for the holiday season. How do you manage that? Are you a type of person that budgets for this season, or do you just wing it? 011 883 0702. We're in conversation with Gareth Collier, who is the Director and Financial Planner at Firecrest Group. Mapare, you are calling us from Roodepoort. How do you prepare for December? Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Clement and your guest.
Etc.
For December, I just started January. 150 there, February, 100 rands there, 50 rands there. Throughout the course of the year, you're trying to put in a certain amount so that when I do get the bonuses in December, I also add on specifically to that amount. So that's going to be easier. Rather than depending on the bonuses itself, sometimes no year is the same. So it can be,
So normally you use your bonus to as a top-up for December, or you focus it on January for the bonus?
I save during the course of the year. So there's an account aside written December. You put a certain amount of money there every year. Every month you make sure you put in something. Then when bonuses comes in, you add on into that amount.
I got it. Mapare in Roodepoort, thank you very much. On the WhatsApp line, Noni says, "Hi Clement, I don't get it. Christmas rolls around at the same time every year. This is about financial discipline. I've never had a problem at all. Come Jan, my kids had school fees, uniforms, etc. And we had money for our needs. Without there being more of a month at the end of our money, we were never deprived either." That's a message from Noni. Another one says, "Hi Clement, thanks for this informative show. This year will be the first time in my 32 years that I get a bonus or even an income during December time. I'm excited, but I'm nervous also. I don't want to spend all my money and then sit with dry lips in January. So I'll definitely be using the pointers that your guest has given us this morning to enjoy the festive season." Thank you. Yeah, you can still enjoy the festive season. As Gareth said, well, you're also being a bit responsible as well. And speaking of January, Gareth, I mean, what's the best way to prepare for that month and the expenses that come with that month? School fees, stationery, transport, their debit orders that have not really gone through in December, or that needs to double debit. There's just a lot. So we do have to be intentional even about the month of January, don't we?
Yeah, no, I love that word. It's all about being intentional, and that's where sort of the discipline comes in. And discipline always sounds like such a harsh word, but it's basically just showing yourself like a lot of respect and love for yourself, for your family, and your control. Because a lot of this, yes, they manifest as money issues, but they kind of result in a lot of stress. So there's a couple of ways to do it, and it just depends on yourself and the family that you're in. Some people don't mind sort of mentally compartmentalizing their money. Like if they've got a lump sum of cash in the bank account, they know that, I need X amount for school fees, and I need this for transport, and I need this for January's rent, or whatever the case is. And some people really struggle with that, So, we would call it like an old school envelope system. Like imagine if you got paid in cash, and then what you would do is you'd have several envelopes, and each of those envelopes you would physically put that money in for that need. So you would have an envelope for rent, and you'd put the money in for that, and school fees and that sort of thing. And then what you're physically left with, that you can kind of spend and enjoy. We obviously don't get paid a lot of cash anymore. A lot of it's EFTs. So, one of the ways, if you really want to be proactive, is, things like your schools. Like if you want to pay school fees in December already, that's one great way to tick that box. You've got your December salary, which the first caller was so correct when he said, look, your December salary is for your January expenses. So if you take that December salary and you pay something like school fees already, and you've got that box ticked, it's one less thing to worry about. And yeah, the debit order thing is harsh because, if we miss debit orders or if we can't catch them up, that starts to roll up into other damage, like things like our credit records and that. So it's really important just to make sure that you do know what your debit orders are, you do know what that total is, and that those funds are available for those debit orders to run off over the end of the month, so that you don't kind of slowly but surely chip away at your sort of financial record and reputation.
Mm-hmm. And for people who they feel like, ish, we're already in the midst of December fully, and they're wondering, I wonder if I'm already heading for financial trouble. What do you think would be the signs now, or maybe even next to just closer to Christmas, that someone is already heading for financial trouble, and what can they do early enough to try and change the trajectory? Because sometimes you just don't know, right? You thought, I'm just going to be so disciplined. But for some reason, you see yourself, spending on things, and you end up thinking, I'm going to be in trouble here. So what are the signs to look out for? And what do I do when I realize that I'm heading for trouble?
Yeah, I mean, I think the probably the most dangerous one is if you find yourself that you're already having to borrow or use credit for your daily essentials, like your groceries and things. You might need to have a look in the mirror and just go back to your bank statements and just actually see where your money is going, and take a little bit of control and a bit of ownership over that. Other little signs are, if you're feeling anxious every time a message from the bank pops up, and you're kind of aware, but you're not conscious of what's going on. So yeah, I think if you have that awareness, but you actually aren't very conscious about what's going on in your finances, I think the earlier you take action, the better, because the sooner you can do that, you can maybe take some corrective steps. Even if you've overspent already, it's far better to rather slow down or stop the overspending now than just continue to do that and ostrich your way through the month and then have a even bigger problem the following month. So yeah, it's not pleasant, but if you are feeling that way, I would say just maybe stop, take a breath, and check yourself, go through your finances, because also remember, if you're in an environment where like budgeting isn't encouraged, or this sort of YOLO, spend today, pay tomorrow mentality is there, a lot of the time it's not necessarily you. A lot of when you deal with people like that, it's often because they themselves don't want to take a lot of ownership and discipline over their finances. And misery loves company. So it feels like if we do it as a group, if we do it as a herd, it justifies the behavior. And it can be challenging to remove yourself from that. So maybe just think, if you do have that awareness, maybe it's time to be a little bit more conscious of what's going on in your finances.
Yeah. A message on the WhatsApp line says, "Hey Clement, we have a stokvel that we're using to save money. The stokvel consists of 8 columns, 100, 200, 300 until December, and then 300, 600, 900 going up until December, and then what we do is we share it in January." So there are these stokvels that appears, Gareth, where people are putting in money together, and then in Jan they just share that. In that way they can offset, on where the costs are or where there are deficits. Do stokvels work? Because someone else was asking about any financial tools, apps, or simple methods that you can suggest that can help families track their spending during December.
Yeah, I mean, I think stokvels are wonderful, whether it's that or a gooi system or something, because it provides two of the best things you can do for your finances, right? So, like, where you've got that accumulating contribution every month, so you're building a habit which is very, very powerful. But then what's so lovely about a stokvel is that you're part of a community that's got a common goal, right? And therefore it's much easier to achieve our goals when we, are surrounded by people who are moving in the same direction. Sometimes we're going to need a little bit of encouragement to keep going. And we can also be accountability partners for one another as well. So I think stokvel systems are brilliant. If you're not part of them, obviously kind of in a more modern society or an online society, we can use anything from, maybe you like to use an Excel spreadsheet to monitor your finances and kind of build up these pockets of savings. A lot of the banks now, sort of regardless of who you bank with, if you go on the banking app, they've got embedded budgeting systems where you can set up alerts, you can set up categories for expenditure, so it can help you track those things. And also, if you've got a smartphone, there's a sort of a myriad of different apps that you can use to help yourself with those budgeting systems. And if you just commit a few minutes a day or a few minutes a week or whatever suits you, to keep those apps up to date, it just helps you to build the habit, right? The habit is by far and away the most important element of being able to kind of track and take control over your finances.
Yeah. Selma, you were calling us from Roodepoort. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement.
Hey.
Yes, in the olden days, we had a system that they called a self-sacrifice bonus, where they kept a little bit back from your salary every month, and then at the end of November, they paid it all out to you as an end of year bonus. And what I did then was, as soon as it came into my account, I went to the bank and got a bank check. Those days we still used those things, in the amount that it would cost for the school fees for my son for the following year. Now give it to him and say, now tomorrow you can stand in this queue at the financial office and you pay this in for your school fees, and you bring me a receipt. And then I also, because of that, would get a 5% discount on the school fees for the year, which was very handy and welcome. That also helped me not to spend my bonus on anything and get into the temptation of spending it on frivolous things. And I also knew if anything happened to me over the Christmas holidays, at least my son's schooling was taken care of. Thanks for a lovely show.
Oh, that's a great one. Selma, thank you for your call in Roodepoort. Yeah, Gareth, that's cool, right? Because Selma says, and of course other people won't have that capacity to pay for the school fees ahead in advance, but if you can, that sort of help ease that burden.
Yes, no, absolutely. I think it's very usual for schools to encourage people to make those payments and get those discounts. And it's not just schools. Think about anything that you typically will pay throughout the year, be it school fees. It can be things like your short-term insurance policies as well, like your car and household things. They will often offer an incentive or a discount if you make an annual payment in advance for those things rather than a monthly payment. So there's a few aspects here where, if you look at your monthly budget and you see the things that you are spending on month to month and that you have to spend on month to month because that's just part of your lifestyle and your costs, it's interesting to investigate where you can align yourselves to make annual payments, maybe get a bit of a discount on those, and those things certainly do add up. And I love all the comments in the phone calls today, because everything just talks back to little behaviors, little habits, little lessons they've learned from the families. And it's a case of, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. In terms of budgeting for December, January time, the best time to start for December is in January, where you can climb this mountain one little step at a time. So whether it's through a stokvel, a savings account, the caller now, what she mentioned, it's basically the company was kind of being sort of the stokvel, right? Where they were kind of providing the facility to allow you to save and kind of protect you from yourself a little bit. And then being able to then have the discipline to make a good decision with that lump sum of cash. All of these behaviors, it's how you do it. There's many different ways of doing it, but it's the habit and then what you do with that lump sum when you get it. They're all brilliant.
And how about debit orders, because that becomes an issue, in December and early Jan. How important is it for people to monitor their bank accounts and debit orders during this festive period?
Yeah, I think, if you're doing good budgeting, you will typically have a very good awareness and understanding of what your debit orders should be. And during the program there was an advert, and it was so true around this time of year. The capacity for fraud just skyrockets because those people kind of who are targeting those activities, they know people get bonuses, stokvel payments. There's these large lump sums that are moving around during the year, and I think people are also spending a lot more. So we're buying a lot of things in different stores and different shops, and maybe we're not very conscious of all the notifications on our bank accounts. So all of these things, it's like social engineering. People know these things are happening, and it might not be a case of, okay, we're going to try and steal a large lump sum of cash from one person. We might just try and lift a couple of rand, 20 rand, 30 rand here and there. And if they can do that across a number of accounts, that can add up to a lot of things. So I know it's maybe a little bit mundane and boring, but don't be too disassociated from your banking notifications during the month, because unfortunately, it is a high alert time for fraud.
Mm-hmm. Let's go to Tito, who's calling us from Pretoria. Tito, hi.
Hi, how you doing, Clement?
Good, man. How are you?
Good, thanks. I just wanna contribute a bit. I believe that it all starts at the beginning of the year, and now my issue at times is people who take all the money and put it in the stokvel, and then they will be now beneficiaries here and there, having a good time on somebody else's planning that is different from theirs. I mean, you have people who have stokvels, which is a good thing, but at the end of the year, the guy who was having a time of his life in somebody else's pocket, and now, basically what I'm worried about is the people who put the money, all of it, in the stokvel, and then they wanna spend a cousin's money, basically, it's part of what he's talking about in a way of fraud, because I'm saving, I've got a stokvel, I've got everything, but I've got a day-to-day planning or setup where every month I wanna go out and have fun. So where now you put all the money in the stokvel, that is my part where I just wanted to come out and say it, because at the end of the year, we want to all have fun, but during the year, what do we do?
Yeah. No.
To strike the balance, because, I mean, you have all these things that save money for the end of the year, but what about during the year?
Yeah, what happens there? And then you don't also want to just remain broke during the year because you're trying to save for December, only to blow that up during the festive season. Tito in Pretoria, thank you for your call. Gareth Collier, Director and Financial Planner at Firecrest Group. Thank you so much for also making time for us. It's 8 minutes now before 12.
Business Outsurance are experts in business insurance for butcheries, restaurants, beauty salons, and more. Here's Gert.
I definitely have peace of mind that Business Outsurance is protecting our business. I do think Business Outsurance are the best insurance company out there, and they gave us the best quotes.
Switch to Business Outsurance and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. Visit outsurance.co.za. Switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
The crazy store's got deals galore and everything you need, from tinsel presents, wrapping, and a star for your Christmas tree. We've got all sorts of games and sports, many toys to buy, stationery, arts and crafts. Come on and don't be shy. No need to panic shop. We're your one-stop Christmas spot. Your table will be dressed and you will not be stressed. When Christmas Eve is here, you'll want to sing and cheer. I got everything at the crazy store and I can't wait for next year.
Hey, you never know what you might find this Christmas.
7:02.
The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
It's now 7 minutes before 12 o'clock. Here's what, in fact, 6 minutes now before 12 o'clock. So, From today, in fact, every time until we wrap up the show, next week, we're going to wrap it up with a song at the end of the show. So, in fact, I want to give you an opportunity to do your requests in the morning every day so that we can pick what we can play as we wrap up the show. Today, Abel did the pick for us. If you don't like the song, don't blame me, blame him. But this is what we'll be doing is we get you ready for the holiday season every single day on the show from today. Lahlumlenze by Thandiso Mazwai. That's how we wrap up the show today. Coming up next is the Midday Report with Mendy Winner. How are you doing, Mendy?
Very good.
Good. Lando Norris. Did I bet with you? Didn't I bet with you?
It was a year ago and I still owe you 1,000 rand. Everybody will remember that.
I think you owe me still this year because I said it's going to be Lando.
No, we didn't take a bet this year.
Did we
but
not?
I have not honored my agreement from last year. So we can just write it off. I'm sorry, I'm a Lando fan. I've waited 17 years for McLaren to.
How are you feeling?
Like, I'm so happy.
Were you not scared? Like towards the last lap, I was like, that
nervous.
Car better stick exactly like that. Nothing should change.
Nervous. I was very but I must say, like, I still think Max is just the most incredible driver.
Oh yeah, he's done really well. I mean, he fought till the end, but I'm really happy for Lando. I think he deserves it. And I hope it's going to give him new confidence into the new season.
And the thing is with Lando is that he has been able to win a world championship by being a nice guy. Yeah. And if you listen to what he says, like, he hasn't been ruthless. He hasn't. I think he's been able to do it.
All right, what are we doing on the Midday Report today?
The president is speaking at the moment at the National General Council, of the ANC that starts today. The National Police Commissioner is visiting Salisbury today, also visiting Brakpan today. Those two big news stories over the weekend. There's been a big recall by Kia. We'll tell you all about that. And then, as you mentioned, obviously a very big sporting weekend. The Blitzbokke, for our Cape Town listeners, have obviously winning yesterday. So we'll speak about all of that.
All right, that's what's coming up on the Midday Report. So here's something quickly before we leave. You're invited to join our special broadcast that's going to be on Wednesday. We want to do the show live with an audience, so you can give us basically open line with a live audience, and I want to invite some of my colleagues here on 702 as we look back at the year that was and reflect on some of the important stories and their impact this year. If you'd like to attend this special broadcast on Wednesday here at Prime Media House and take part in it, you can just email us on contact@702.co.za. That's contact@702.co.za. It's a minute after 12. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Bye-bye.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. Lawyers for Johannesburg Director of Public Prosecutions Andrew Chauke have accused NPA boss Shamila Batoyi of poisoning the atmosphere of Chauke's inquiry by baselessly linking him to state capture. Batoyi is being cross-examined